Kantai man tunat nyagi toru ilugar para ion ra para I gloria abibai islasen para ion ra para I gloria abibai islasen para Gitodui tempui pas para ita dan gini langit na bendition Contrai peligro na fan sa fuham Deus protege Islandwong Contrai peligro na fan sa fuham Deus protege Islandwong Cincinnati, relax, get back someday. Anytime I want my half, I need it. I'll be present in a New York minute. Don't deceive me now, you know it's business. And it's been a long time, fortunately mine, playing on my soul, connected my control, rock me so slow. Anytime I need it, she will bend down low on me, rock me so slow. In the morning time, sit roots maneuver, give me lead to one. Sunny side or yellow side, I made it. I'll be gone before the clock hits 5, wailing at the moon until I'm faded. And it's been a long time, fortunately mine, playing on my soul, connected my control.
Yeah.
Good morning.
Anytime I need
Good morning, Guam. Good morning, Sabrina.
Good morning.
Sorry, I know I'm a bit much.
You? No.
Yeah. There's just no halfway. It's always at 100.
Am I overmodulating?
Are you?
I feel like I am.
Look
but
at you. You
it's
got
not.
like fancy radio words.
Oh.
Talk. Give me a test.
Test.
Use your radio voice.
It must be my maybe it's my earphones.
Use your radio voice.
Half a day.
Wow. I've been doing it wrong all these years. Hey, good morning. Serena Salas Mantanani. My name's Chris. It is Containing COVID. Thanks for joining us on this Tuesday. Viva Mates! The 9th day of June. As always, jamming as much real information, real time. What do you want to be? Turn down or?
No, it just turned me off of
You
this
good?
connector. There.
Okay.
Now it's better.
Okay. I think Jason messed with it. That's why. Anyway, a beautiful day out there. Looks like it's going to be one of those rain hot Tuesdays. But you know what they say about the weather in Guam. If you don't like the weather, wait a minute, it'll change. Good morning, Jason Salas.
Half a day and good morning, everybody. Coming into work this morning for our show, at least for Sabrina and myself and other people coming from the north. I know you came from, the beautiful southern end of Guam, but
That's right.
Bree, there was quite the line already formed
Yes.
for food distribution. That was nuts.
Yeah. It was up past your turn.
Yeah, into Ipapawa Estates, Wistig Road. It had already stretched all the way there to, if you know this part of the island up here in Dedido, to the Dedido Farmers Market, which is at least 3-4 miles away, and the line was all there. Most of the cars, had turned off because the line's not moving that fast. So you figure just get in line and go to sleep. And then when I went to the gas station, I just asked the attendant. I was like, "Oh, miss, good morning, half a day. Hope you listen to our show." Man, the line's already long. She's like, "They've been lining up since 1 a.m." And that
Wow. Wow.
But
Yeah, let us know.
Next time, go take some pictures and send it.
yeah.
Jason's scared. He's scared to get down in the dark. I think. No, in the comments, let us know what's going on. If you guys were in the line or you experienced any type of, you turned away or whatever. Let us know. We definitely want to know. 6:30. The show is proudly brought to you by Calvo Enterprises, of course, Ambrose Inc., Coast 360, the Bank of Guam, and IT&E. Again, it's the KUAM News takeover of Guam's favorite containing COVID. And as always, let's start the show with a dive into the day's COVID-19 headlines with the very latest from the KUAM News team. Sabrina Salas-Mantanani, good morning.
Half a day, good morning, everyone. Starting with the latest cases of COVID-19 on Guam, the count remains at 179, 5 deaths, 163 recoveries, and 11 active cases. A total of 65 samples were ran through Public Health's lab on Monday, and 0 returned positive. In the meantime, free community testing gets underway today in Inarajan at Public Health's Southern Regional Community Health Center from 9 a.m. to 12 noon. You don't have to have symptoms to get tested. Just bring an ID. Then tomorrow at the Momong Church, it's from 9 a.m. to 12 p.m. Again, you do not have to have symptoms to get tested, and it is free. Emergency food distribution resumes today. Boxes of food are being distributed at Mount Lamlam and Agate Umatic and at the Dededo Farmers Market in Dededo. Both sites are distributing food from 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. Then on Thursday, emergency food distribution will be held at the Tidzin Upper Baseball Field and in Jotnya at the St. Francis Church from 6 a.m. to 10 o'clock in the morning. And just a reminder that the deadline to apply for the Programan Salapi Adzudani Tata Disaster Relief Program is this Friday. Those who submit their applications by the deadline will have until June 30th to submit all the additional required documents. To date, a total of 17,040 checks have been processed and released, totaling $12.8 million. Go to Public Health's website at dphss.guam.gov to apply. For more information on the status of checks, you can call the Department of Administration at 475-1101, 1250, or 475-1221. Funding for the program was made available through the CARES Act. Passengers arriving from COVID-19 hotspots will be required to quarantine at government facilities. Physicians Advisory Council member Dr. Felix Cabrera provided further clarification ahead of the anticipated restart of flight services from the Philippines this weekend. Nestor Lecanto reports.
Dr. Cabrera says the goal is to be able to safely bring home Guam residents and accommodate essential travelers without introducing more virus cases to the island. This includes the estimated 1,600 people who are expected to return home from Manila when Philippines Airlines resumes service on Saturday. But the Philippines is still a hotspot, says Cabrera, because the COVID spread there remains above the desired threshold of a less than 30-day doubling rate. That means all arrivals, resident or non-resident, will have to quarantine for 14 days at a government facility. But despite that, they won't be required to be tested before boarding. Cabrera says it's too dynamic, and there are no assurances that the results are valid when they arrive.
The only thing that's a sure safety net, so to speak, and what has proven to work is quarantine itself. So as you can see in this situation, there is no option to quarantine, to test out of quarantine completely.
Residents arriving from non-hotspot countries will have an option to quarantine at home. Non-residents who travel here for important family matters or to provide essential services will be allowed to quarantine at a residence or lodging facility, provided they clear a valid COVID test within a week of arrival. They will also be subject to monitoring by Public Health.
Yes, they would have to be at their quarantine at their hotel if they're staying at a hotel. But then they will be allowed to go to their place of work or place of business that they need to conduct their essential work and then return back. And then that check-in will occur from Public Health in that manner.
Dr. Cabrera is confident GovGuam does have the adequate quarantine capacity to handle the influx. Meanwhile, the governor has set July 1st as the target date for reopening the visitor industry. Cabrera says preventative measures for tourist travel are still under consideration and details will be announced at a later time. As of now, key markets such as Japan, Korea, and Taiwan are not hotspot countries. For Guam's News Network, I'm Nestor Lecanto.
We bring in our Tomas Manglonia, live from Saipan. Tomas, good morning.
Good morning, Bree and Chris. Here's the latest making news in the Northern Marianas. The governor's COVID-19 task force and Commonwealth Healthcare Corporation reports one additional person has been confirmed to have contracted COVID-19, bringing the CNMI's confirmed case count to 28 since March 28th. The individual is a 34-year-old asymptomatic male and is not a resident of the CNMI. He was a passenger of yesterday's United Airlines flight and placed under quarantine. Of these 28 confirmed cases so far in the CNMI, 5 were identified through testing at the governor's COVID-19 task force quarantine facility. The Commonwealth Healthcare Corporation says that for medical information about COVID-19, you can reach out to the COVID-19 info line at the following numbers. That's 670-285-1672 or 1352. The numbers are available Monday to Friday, 7:30 to 4:30. And some news from the NMI Delegate's Office, Congressman Sablan posting on his website that approvals for the Marianas applications to the Paycheck Protection Program and the Companion Economic Injury Disaster Loan Program continue to rise. He writes that as of May 30th, 362 PPP loans to eligible Marianas businesses and nonprofits worth over $35 million were granted, and funding still remains in the program. And some news from the nonprofit sector, wanted to share an announcement from the Empty Vessel Ministry Foundation. They write that due to the overwhelming number of food requests in the thousands, Empty Vessel Ministry will no longer be accepting registrations for food assistance via Facebook Messenger. They say that you must register in person for the upcoming distribution by filling out an intake form. Their office for those in Saipan is located in Gualorai. And wanted to provide our viewers with the latest information from the Commonwealth Healthcare Corporation's dashboard. So far, the cumulative number of cases confirmed in the CNMI is at 28 with 2 deaths. The number of specimens collected on Saipan through the Community Testing Initiative is now at 6,365. 414 residents have been tested on Tinian, and 462 residents have been tested on Rhoda. Bring Chris, that's the latest here in the CNMI.
Thanks, Tomas. Back to news on Guam. Senator Pito Terlahi is continuing his fight to give GovGuam employees and retirees a choice when it comes to health insurance. Here's the highlights from Monday's round of session.
Friday night fights at the Guam legislature after multiple amendments to Bill 255. Senator Pito Terlahi appeared to have thrown in the towel.
I am tired of the so many amendments. I am tired. This interaction is turning into a circus already.
Vowing a comeback, that's exactly what he did on session floor this afternoon. The Democrat lawmakers stepped back into the ring, ready to fight for Bill 363, another measure to once again give choice.
And this is the same bill with the one that was withdrawn?
But Bill 363 didn't stand a chance as Senator Therese Terlahi delivered the TKO.
Because the bill is not identical to the bill that had a public hearing. And this statute specifically requires that it be identical to the bill that had a public hearing.
Senator Pito Terlahi bowed out with Bill 363, but came back with another punch with Bill 366. While Senator Therese Terlahi responded with another jab, she was out for the count.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Motion carries.
Senators have been debating the issue on whether to give choice back to GovGuam employees and retirees for more than a week. But even prior to session, retirees and GovGuam employees have been asking for choice. The Mayor's Council of Guam months ago passed a resolution urging the legislature to restore their right to select from multiple health insurance carriers. And just this morning on our interactive radio show on I-94 FM, retiree, former member of the Government of Guam Health Insurance Negotiations team, Joseph Cameron, stepped into the ring after sitting on the sidelines watching session.
The people of Guam are really concerned as a general. I mean, just because you're a GovGuam employee doesn't mean you're a GovGuam employee. Come on, you got kids who work in private sector, for God's sakes, and they're affected as well. So you know what? I think we got to go back to basics. Give the choice issue back. Give it back. Come on. You know, there's no exclusivity provider that we're looking for. We're not looking for anything other than what is rightfully our choice. It's a moral issue to me to be able to make such a decision on behalf of my family, and everybody else that's couching on this.
Once Bill 366 was added on to session agenda, senators did not immediately go toe-to-toe on the bill, instead moving on with the rest of their agenda.
Senator Teresa Terlai argues the choice bill does not specify where $11 million will come to fund Senator Pito Terlai's choice bill. Session resumes at 10 o'clock this morning. The Guam Police Department's Criminal Investigations Section is investigating a stabbing that occurred at Hemlani's commercial apartments in Tamuning on Sunday at 7 p.m. Earlier that afternoon, the victim was with a group of men by the New Plaza Market. There was an altercation between the victim and one of the individuals, resulting in the victim being stabbed in his back area. He proceeded home and his wife notified police. He was transported to GMH, where he is listed in stable condition. In national news, George Floyd's death has sparked a larger debate at police reform and funding. Congress is tackling the issue today, unveiling legislation to bring more accountability and transparency to departments across the country. Skylar Henry reports.
Lawmakers held an 8-minute, 46-second moment of silence on Capitol Hill this morning, representing the amount of time a now former Minneapolis police officer had his knee on George Floyd's neck. Congress is responding to Floyd's death with new police reform legislation. Among the changes, the bill would ban the use of chokeholds to subdue suspects and make it easier to prosecute officers for police brutality. While Democrats press new policing safeguards, President Trump is proclaiming he's the law and order president. He's holding a roundtable discussion with law enforcement officers this afternoon. On Face the Nation, Attorney General William Barr says police departments as a whole aren't the issue. The president tweeted this morning, "Law and order, not defund and abolish the police. The radical left Democrats have gone crazy." Skylar Henry, CBS News, the White House.
Former President Joe Biden to call for defending the police. Mr. Biden issued a statement today saying police departments should not be defunded. In your Banking 671 report, the Guam Bankers Association is encouraging residents who plan to file for pandemic unemployment assistance to consider a direct deposit. You're urged to open a deposit account with your preferred bank, collect necessary account information, and be prepared to provide your account number as well as your bank's routing number, and visit Guam DOL's online portal hireguam.com to apply. That's your Banking 671 report, brought to you by the Bank of Guam and Coast 360. You okay over there? But yeah, if you want to join our conversation, on our show, give us a call at 637-0097. Like, what's going on? We're having all kinds of technical
There's a lot
issues.
of stuff going on over here.
Yeah.
643.
Even my headphones is still kind of acting up.
Is it? Okay.
Yeah.
You know, in the computer world, we call that multitasking. What you're trying to do. Very impressive, by the way.
Yeah, it's better. Just leave it.
Okay. You ready?
Yeah, I'm ready.
All right. 644. It's containing COVID again. Thanks for that dive into the day's COVID-19 headlines, Bree. We do a weekly check-in. Every week we go behind bars.
Uh-oh.
Going behind bars with Major Anton Uggan of the Department of Corrections. So let's go ahead and bring up the Major. Good morning, Major.
Good morning. Good morning.
Good morning.
Thanks for joining us so nice and early. I know it's been it's been about a week since we talked to you. There's a story that Adriana did about the former Agatna lockup now. Can you just kind of give us the info on that, Major?
Yeah, when the GPD moved out, the building was turned over to the Department of Corrections. And so we are currently renovating the building. And once the renovation is done, the parole division will be moving down there. We'll be moving out of Paseo and over to that area.
Oh, so they'll have their own office. Is that the only
Yes.
changes? Is parole moving over there? How many people are in parole?
We have about 6 officers, the chief, and I think 2 more officers will be hired shortly. But in addition, a portion of the building will be used for attorney conference rooms for the attorneys when they meet their clients. Also, we're working with the court. The court actually is spearheading a project to increase its video conferencing capability. So we're working with them, and we've identified several areas there where we're going to be putting video conferencing so that some of the defendants could possibly stay at the jail or there in Agana while having their court hearing from the court side.
I wonder if they're going to be able to use some of the CARES Act funding for this. This is like telework. I mean, basically. Right?
That's in the CARES Act. DOC did receive, I think, about $15,000 from the CARES Act for video conferencing for court detainees.
So
And I
that's
know
where
the court received some, but I don't know how much.
Right. So what do you spend $15,000 on, Major?
Well, a lot of it actually is probably, I don't know if we're going to spend all of it, but a lot of it is probably just on the equipment and getting the infrastructure in place, internet lines, computers and things like that, of the like, some TVs that they want to put in there so the defendants can clearly see what's going on in court. Some of it might be on soundproofing the rooms a little bit so that outside noises won't be a big issue. Currently, we're renovating the buildings, but that's not coming out of CARE Act. That's just coming out of our regular budget.
Right. And how does this affect the Major, if you can? How does this affect the long-term plan for revitalizing Hagåtña? Are we still revitalizing Hagåtña?
I don't know.
Or is that with FESPAC now?
Yeah, I don't know how this will affect long term. I mean, I do know they still have a revitalization project for Agana, and in that project, the Department of Corrections is no longer situated down there. But for now, I guess
they're stuck with you.
We're moving forward and just trying to make the best of the building, making the best use of it for now.
What kind of renovations? Are you doing major renovations to that building?
No, not too much. I mean, they're taking up all the tiles. Some of the walls there are, they're wooden walls. So they're just moving it around, redesigning it a little bit, changing doors, again, the tiles, painting, some electrical work, just minor repairs. Really, it's probably going to cost, like I told Adriana yesterday, probably about $3,000 to $5,000 worth of materials to get it all up, up and running again.
So it wouldn't.
All the labor is coming from inmates.
Right. So the renovations wouldn't handcuff you guys to be staying there permanently if in the event if we move forward with this revitalization plan, you wouldn't have to. Okay.
No, it's just simple renovations. We remove the carpet from some of the rooms, and again removing the tiles. They're going to paint the floor, clean it all up, paint the floor. They're adding a partition so some of the rooms can be divided and used better. So yeah, it's not too bad of a renovation. It'll probably take about 2 weeks.
I know you said right now they're at Paseo. Where at they're at Paseo?
They're located over right across from Jamaican Grill. Inside the main Paseo gate right there, there's the parole office inside.
That's a weird one. How did that work out? I mean, that's
we've been there.
DPR.
We've been there about 3 years. I think.
I see. Okay.
But yeah, we're gonna move out of there, and eventually put them over there at the old Agana precinct.
What are some of the advantages, Major, of moving that over to Agana?
Well, at least for one, the building does not become vandalized as much. I mean, we'll have somebody in there maintaining the building, so the building just doesn't deteriorate. Having parole right there in the front of the building, could add extra security in that area as far as the parole staff being there. Plus, it brings them closer with our Agana section and just kind of combines them all right there. instead of away from over there at the Paseo side, the concern's always been the school buses and the schools during school season that you have,
Right.
and you have parolees walking in that area.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, to counter that, our officers have been out there monitoring it a lot, but you know, we don't want to keep doing that as much. So
Wow, good idea.
yeah, so let's take them away from that area.
What type of offenders do we have going to check in with you guys? All kinds, Major?
Well, of course, on parole, sir, our count, I believe, right now is about 250 on parole, and so they range from burglary to, you know, higher offenses.
Like CSC?
There's probably a few, yes, sir, that are on parole. They've done their sentence and they're on serving their parole time now.
Right.
Yeah, so it's a mix.
Has the parole board granted anyone parole in the last 3 months?
During the COVID?
No, not during the COVID, sir. The parole board hasn't really had an opportunity to meet.
They didn't do any like sneaky undercover open government law suspended type meetings, Major?
No, sir. No, sir. But you know, I know the parole officers have been preparing the reports as normal, so that when it's time when the board is able to reconvene, they'll have the cases ready to present for those that are eligible. Under Guam law, we have to present them once they become eligible if the inmate chooses to request for parole.
Are we going to be seeing these parole board meetings done through, I guess, video conference?
Yeah.
Well, that's interesting because that's how we've done most of the parole hearings for the last 2 years, maybe 3 years. We have a computer up at Casework in the Manila prison, and the inmate will go there and sit down in front of the computer and basically Zoom it in, or Skype, I think we were using, and they were having the hearing that way, and that way the victims or the supporters for the inmate would have an opportunity to speak without really the inmate around.
Well, where do you
So
find...
we've already been doing that. We've already actually been doing that way before the COVID.
Where do you find that stuff, Major? Is that public record? Seems like it should be.
All the hearings itself, Chris, are recorded on the parole side, and so that still is public record, but you have to request, I believe, from the parole board.
Yeah, yeah. Okay.
For those things.
Oh, so it's not
So the parole board is a separate entity from DOC.
Right. Yeah.
Basically.
They should put that up on they should do a Facebook page or something and put it up so people can watch it.
Well, I'll bring that up to them and see what they can do. Maybe do the live stuff.
Okay.
The way you guys do it.
Right. Yeah. Major, what about the incoming? The incoming guys. This is where if you know somebody who's behind bars, inmate, detainee, members of the family, or other stakeholders will drop off supplies, approved supplies to the prison. Have you guys figured all that out, Major?
Well, we just finished our first round. June 5th was the last day.
Right.
Again, we were doing it for about 2 weeks, May 25th to June 5th. And because we have 18 different housing units, and we had to divide it into groups so that we don't overwhelm the prison with things coming in. So it worked out well. Quite a few inmates, probably around over 300, half of them actually received some sort of items from their family. And so we're looking at that, and we're possibly going to continue it again end of the month and start the next cycle of that until we completely get out of this COVID. Maybe we'll go back to PCOR 4.
Right.
But for now, we're going to continue that process. It worked well, and I think most of the inmates are satisfied with it.
Major, last week when we talked, you had said that there were discussions between the director and representatives from the Department of Public Health about testing the population there, the Department of Corrections. So where are we with that? Has there been any developments since the last time we spoke?
No, nothing new, Chris. But again, from the beginning, the director's always been of the belief that we should go ahead and test all the prisoners. But it's not necessarily on our side; it's on the public health side.
Right. Yeah.
Now, from the beginning, when this thing started, they didn't have enough test kits, and they had to maximize the test kits. And so we just implemented our procedures to keep it out of the facility. And as of yesterday or as of today, as far as I know at this point, no inmate has tested any symptoms. and so there's no one has displayed any kind of symptoms of COVID-19.
So no,
Again, if they-
inmate major has any flu-like symptoms or loss of.
Not has been reported as of now, and we talk to the medical staff every day, and nothing has been reported at this point. So hopefully our procedures are part of that. That's why it's we're minimizing the possibility of getting into our facility, but possibly the director still wants to try to do the testing.
Right.
But a lot of it would depend on the public health side, if the testing kits are available.
You guys feel like Major? You guys feel like you kind of might have dodged a bullet, and that early on you guys had the recruit test positive, and they tested all your officers, and that could have gone like way worse.
Yeah, I mean, I think we were very fortunate, Chris, and that the precautions we put in place from the minute the minute this stuff started going on may have played a factor on it. Not to mention our strict enforcement of the mask and the issuing of inmates masks. So we're we did dodge a bullet. I would say so far we did good, but as the mainland prison right now they're really having some issues back there.
Mm-hmm.
Right, and so are you guys kind of looking at that news, Major, and seeing where maybe they could have done better, and maybe applying that to what we're doing here, or maybe anticipating those types of situations?
Yes, I mean, we still have our isolation unit. Should we need it, we have a unit in there, Post 7, that's been identified as an isolation unit. In the event we do need it, we're still enforcing the mask, and we're still we have attorneys that are starting to come in now and visit. Not a lot, but a few of them are coming in, but we also have strict requirements when the attorneys are coming in. They're required to wear masks, also have their temperature taken. They're not allowed to have any handshake or anything like that with the defendant. They got to sit as best as we possibly can make them, sit a little, try to make them at least 6 feet apart while they're discussing their issues. But, we're still in that mode of, trying to prevent it from coming in as best we can.
Mm-hmm. I'm not sure if Chris had asked, what about testing of officers?
Well, I know there is the public testing out there, but as far as our officers, no, nobody has, other than the group that were tested months back when this thing all first started. I don't think anyone has been tested yet.
I remember something in the
free testing out there.
Yeah, right. So
I don't know if any of them went on their own and got tested or not.
Well, I know that the National Guard, I thought that they were going to be testing like first responders, and but according to the situation report, those numbers haven't moved in weeks, and there's only been 17, I think, that's ever been tested. And I just wanted to know if there was any update.
But
on
all our officers, they are advised if they don't feel well.
Yeah.
If they have anything at all, even a cough, don't come to work, and to get yourself checked if you need be, but to avoid coming to work if you don't feel well.
Mm-hmm. What about an update on contraband? I know last time we spoke, there was people were still throwing things over the fence.
I can't recall if we had anything last week. I don't think we had anything last week that was thrown over or found. But we've done a few shakedowns. We've stand back up our SORT team. So our SORT team has been reactivated. It was stand down last year or a while back when we didn't have enough officers, but we have dedicated 10 officers now to the team, and so they do more shakedowns, more random inspections. They're also you see them walking around more on the compound doing high-risk escorts and things like that. So.
And SORT that's Special
Operations Response Team.
Yeah, that's our Special Operations Response Team in the prison, and so they're more active now on patrolling the areas, and they actually officers there actually found the contraband.
Right. Was the SORT team reactivated because of the recent shakedowns that have yielded drugs and also drug testing for inmates who tested positive?
Yes, I mean the short team was always our plan to get that up and running again. The issue always has been, enough officers to do it, because you have to pull the officers off the platoon, and basically, they work a different shift than the platoon officers. But it's always been our intent to get them reactivated. And now that we have a little bit additional officers on post, the director felt it's now time to get them going again. We still have a few of normally I think we have 12 members altogether, but I think 2 of them are still on military leave.
Wow. What about updates on internal affairs investigations? We hadn't heard anything on any of those IAs that were being conducted pre-COVID regarding escapes. I think it was the halfway house.
We've done the escape IA case.
Which one is this one? This is the
with the warden.
What were they called? The erroneous releases.
Yeah.
Yeah, the erroneous release, ma'am. Those were in 2000 and I want to say 19, right? Those were 2019.
Right. But they were all there. I don't think there was a closure to all of them because there was quite a few.
I mean, you guys don't have an internal affairs unit at the prison, right, Major?
No. We do have internal affairs officer. Yes,
you do now.
There was a period
right
where, due to the shortage of personnel, the IA team was just reassigned back to platoon. But no, we have had an IA team right before Brennan left the department. We had officer down there. We have 2 officers right now. In regards to the erroneous releases, again, those things were handled under the previous administration, the former director. The other escape in Agana that took place, those cases are done, and adverse action was taken on the officers. Others got reprimand.
I'm sorry, for which one? For the escape in Agana or for the erroneous releases?
The erroneous release, I can't really speak much on that one because, again, that was the last administration. I do know when the erroneous release happened, some of the officers involved received reprimand.
Right, but the erroneous releases, Joe was the deputy, wasn't he the deputy director? Or was Joey, because Joey Terlahi resigned. And then
you mean previous administration, like the previous director Samantha Brennan and Joey, not previous administration like under Governor Eddie.
The erroneous releases happened, I believe, in 2019. So that was under Director Brennan's
correct.
time.
Right, and Joey Terlahi, and then Joey Terlahi resigned, and then we started having those oversight hearings, and then during those oversight hearings, it was still Brennan, and then it was Carbolito.
Yes.
So now Carbolito's the director. So where
during
are we with the erroneous releases?
Yeah, during the erroneous releases, that was, I believe, in April. And when Mr. Carbolito came on board, I think the first incident we had there was the escape from the halfway house. Right. And so that one is already done. GPD did that case. Remember at the time it was GPD.
Right.
And so disciplinary action was taken on a few of the officers. I can't recall all the specifics.
Right.
I do know that at the same time the warden was placed on admin leave.
Right. Yeah.
Pending the outcome of the case, and and then at the end of the investigation, again, GPD handled that investigation.
Right.
But at the end, the warden returned to work, and as far as the discipline, I can't. Again, I wasn't in that area at the time, so I can't recall what action, if any, taken.
Right. Yeah, well, thanks for that, Major. As always, we want to bring you on every week to update you. We got Dave from Department of Labor on the other line, and I know people want to hear that update. So thank you so much, Major.
Okay, sir. No problem.
Is there anything we forgot to ask about that you should tell us?
No, not that I can recall right now, but we can catch up next week again.
Yeah, of course. Okay.
Thank you.
You sure? Not that you can recall right now, and then later on we're going to find out there's something big you didn't tell us?
I don't know. We're good for now. I don't know.
Wait, did you get any feedback from the AG? I know you said that the contract or the RP was with their office.
That's still under review.
Okay.
I did talk to the attorney handling it last week, and it's still under review, and it's a lengthy process.
Right.
Yeah, definitely.
Almost there.
lengthy.
Almost there.
Yeah. Okay,
All right.
Major. Thank you.
Thanks.
All right.
Wash your hands.
Okay.
Okay, there he goes. That's a great thing about going behind bars with Major Anton Uggan. It's always easy to get back out. 7:04. Let's keep it going here with the Department of Labor. Dave Della Sola, of course, the director. Good morning, Dave.
Good morning, Chris. Good morning, Sabrina. How are
How's
you guys
the
doing
day?
today?
We're doing pretty good. Of course, I know you guys have processed. I saw some. How many applications are you guys processing right now, Dave?
About 14,500.
Okay. So actually processed and ready to
Those
go?
are those are initial claims that have been put into the system successfully.
Okay, so they
Some
still
have
need
issues.
they still need to
Some
be
have,
vetted.
Yeah, some have to be vetted. Some have technical user errors in it that need to be cleaned up. But so we're chipping away at those.
Dave, I know that there was and I don't know what the soft launch of the website, and people had found out the application was online. A lot of people applied that weekend, and I know that the warning was that because it wasn't fully stood up and you guys are still working out the bugs in the system, that it could lead to errors in the application. So have we seen a lot of errors from the people who applied over that first weekend, Dave?
You got a mix. There was a lot of good applications, and then you had people that did have some errors, and it was a mixed bag. A lot of it was, again, user errors, and that was one of the things that we needed to kind of take a look at the system and how it works. It's a UI program, so it's very different than what anybody is used to seeing on Guam. So a lot of the questions were foreign to people when they were applying, so they might have checked off the wrong boxes and stuff. And there's a few programmatic glitches that were there when you launch anything that complicated, that you want to get it a chance to run it through the paces and see what you might encounter. And most of those things have been worked out. But it was live. It was not. I just wanted to get a look and run through some test cases before people start applying. But live is live, and that was the only way that we could really take a look at the final product was to let it go live quietly.
Right. We had a comment here from Rosemary. Dave, when calling the 3 numbers for sit-down application assistance to set up an appointment, are clients expected to wait for a return call, or do they still call in after leaving messages on voicemail?
There's voicemail. The phones have just been going off the hook nonstop. They're supposed to get appointments.
Okay.
And the thing with our phone systems up at GCC is that they don't have a busy signal. So when everybody's on the line, it just keeps ringing, and it gives that impression that nobody's answering the phones when, in fact, everybody is on the phone taking care of customers.
Okay, so there's no voicemail.
Not that I know of.
Okay. And again, if you're calling and it just keeps ringing, that's because the operators are on the line.
Yes, all the operators are busy taking calls, and it just kind of keeps going around until somebody hangs up, and then somebody will pick up, or just keeps queuing.
Can you provide more information to people that are listening about what's standing up next week on Monday with the appointments? Because I know that you also have hours that are going to be set aside for Manamco and people with disabilities.
Yeah, next week we're trying to stand up to appointment in-person processing at GCC. This week we're working on doing call-in applications. So people that had appointments are calling in, and we're trying to do a clean application over the phones, and that's giving them additional training on what to look for, how to answer questions, and what kind of problems they're facing with the people, and that way they get a little bit more experience before they see them on in person. So yes, next week starts the appointments for walk-in applications, and then we also start the roaming library satellite sites.
Right.
Yeah, if you could
and those have been published.
Dave, just real quick, another question on the comments here. Can you ask Dave about people who receive PPP loans but still had their hours reduced? Are they able to receive the loan and then apply for any unemployment to cover the reduced hours, Dave?
What you do is when you get PPP and it's for reduced hours, you have to put that in for your weekly income.
Right.
So that weekly income, that dollar amount will be, that's where you compare it to the $494. If you're making less than $494, then you get the difference between the PUA and then you get the FPUC. So you, as with any income for that week, when you're doing your weekly certifications, you put PPP in for your, as income, as if it's a paycheck, and then the system will calculate if you're still, can get assistance or if you went over the threshold.
Right. And then there was another comment here. Will we be notified if there's an error or mistake on our application?
It depends on the mistake or the error. Some are internal errors that flag into our system, and some are, of course, errors that they will see. So it depends on the errors.
Right. But I mean, if
sometimes they have a clean application, but there may be discrepancies or something that the system flags out for us to look at just to verify whether or not something is right. Like when you go in and you put in your name and you put in your social security number, one of the common mistakes is that it talks to the employer module, that the employers came in and put in all their employees.
Right.
And when you, in the application, a box will come up and it'll list like 7 employers, and you're supposed to select your employer. It's kind of an integrity module that's built in. So, like I said, if you find that you see your company that you select, then you select that company, and it kind of verifies, okay, yes, you actually work for that company, and the employer put in the that your name in it. But you'd be surprised how many people select the wrong company.
Right.
And it could be for various reasons. Maybe you're working for Smile Mart, and it could be a corporate name of Joe Jim's Corporation, and you don't know that it's DBA Smile Mart or something like that.
Yeah.
But so that just flags us, and then we just got to kind of look into the app and just verify that. And it's not too hard to verify that they just selected the wrong employee.
I guess what the gist of the comment is, are we going to be able to avoid a situation where I apply and my application just sitting there, a month goes by, then I call in and it's like, oh yeah, there was a mistake on your app? Or are you guys being proactive when you do the vetting to call the people and be like, yeah?
We're being fair. We only call the people if it's necessary to verify the information of the discrepancy.
Okay.
So sometimes we've had people put in just wrong information,
right,
or check the wrong box. And depending on if you remember, you're self-certifying that the information is true and correct.
Yeah.
So some instances, if we have to change or it needs to be changed, then we have to call that person up and visibly get their authorization to change and make sure that answer is the correct answer to be changed to. So it all varies. If it's just a minor glitch or they checked something wrong and we can see based on their answers that it's just they checked it wrong, we'll go ahead and fix it and move it forward.
We also have another question. For those that applied and there were no issues at all, how long is the process time to receive? I know we talked about the 21 days standard.
Yes, and at 8 o'clock this morning, I have a meeting with the software vendor and myself and with DOA, and we're going through the payment process and trying to finalize what is needed to get that module put in place, and also start moving all those files into a payroll to be paid. There's a process to vet them through, and so that we can verify each one that's getting paid and then move that to DOA. So we're going to work on that today, this morning in about 45 minutes, and I should have a pretty good picture by then to see where we're going to be at as far as a timeline for the possibility of getting payments out.
I'm sorry, could you go back? You're waiting for to stand up another module to
Well, it's not
pay
a module. It's the payment section of the program. It'll automatically batch the file in a CSV file and move it for to DOA. That file needs to be set up perfectly so that DOA can then draw the funds down and then take that file, give it to the bank, and then they will do an EFT to all those people. And then there's another imaging file that is used for printing the checks.
Is this
and
a
those
further?
are all getting.
Is this a further delay, Dave, or is this something that you guys are doing parallel to?
Parallel.
I see.
In parallel, and it's something that was, we were working in phases because, it just made sense that we start the application process, and then now that we got the application process moving, that we finalize the payment process and how it's going to look and the files and all that stuff. So I'm hoping we can get that done very soon.
It's not a hot mess, right, Dave? We got a comment here that sounds like a hot mess.
No, it's just a huge undertaking, and when you have such a Goliath task,
right,
you have to break it into pieces and manage it. People still just don't understand. This is all being done in 2 months, and I'm not making any apologies for this gigantic program and cramming it into 2 months, and there may be a little bit of problems and bugs and things like that. This is just not the way you would normally set up a UI program. And of course there's going to be mistakes and delays. I'm still under a quarantine.
Right.
I'm still trying to do all this stuff. And I understand everybody just wants to get the money and all this stuff, but I'm dealing with, hundreds of millions of dollars, and it's got to be done right, or they're just going to swoop down and stop the program.
Dave, we had a comment again from the voicemail thing. The lady said that she had left a voicemail and that she called and the voice mailbox is full. So I don't know if you want to check on that.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure. That's a little too much into the weeds that I don't.
Right. Yeah. Maybe your tech guy or OTech or something. Hey, Dave, can you clarify there was a little back and forth between the congressman and the labor oversight of the legislature, Senator Regine Visco Lee, and it all kind of stemmed from the congressman coming out and saying, oh, if employers don't register on the employer module, that somehow it's going to affect the employee's ability to file for unemployment benefits. But if I'm not mistaken, we've had you on the show, well, I'm not mistaken about us having you on the show basically every week ever since the COVID. But I thought you were very clear in saying that it doesn't matter if the employers file or not.
It doesn't stop the claim. And the whole thing of what I'm trying to put in place is what USDOL is already jumping down all the states, is the program integrity, and trying to make sure that the claims that go in are strong, and if audited, they move forward, they don't get delayed. And the whole thing about the employers putting in their employees' information in there, so when those employees come in, they put in the Social Security, it talks to that module, and it helps verify the claim as that person does work for this company, and it strengthens it. And therefore, we can just push it forward without it being verified manually, if you kind of know what I'm saying.
Yeah.
All these extra integrity measures go a long way whenever we talk to USDOL. And if you just Google some of the stuff, hundreds of millions of dollars are being stolen by these internet fraud rings that are gone in that have used the Experian or the Equifax breach, and they're putting in real people's information with real people's social securities, putting in real files and using fake debit cards or accounts, and these monies are going straight over to these people. And their USDOL is starting to clamp down and asking what kind of integrity Are you building into the system? What can you do to make sure that we don't do that? We're doing a couple things. Some things I don't want to say because it would kind of show your poker hand, but we're putting things into the payment side. We're doing things like the employer module. We're asking for additional IDs and support documents. These are all things that strengthen the integrity of the program and then the claim, so that people will just go through smoothly to the payment process.
Mm-hmm.
There's always people that are going to try to take advantage of the money and put in false claims, and that's why you self-certify so much, and you're going to be held to it.
Mm-hmm.
And we're starting to kind of get an idea. We've seen some people that have come in and have actually put in different social security numbers and put in different bank accounts, but they're the same person.
Mm-hmm.
So we're kind of starting to see people that are trying to test the integrity of the system.
Mm. I did want to follow up on something the Republican Party of Guam had put out regarding the salaries and the hiring of these customer service representatives, administrative assistants, and the salaries for some of them $163,000, and that's with benefits $150,000. Administrative
distraction.
Mm-hmm.
What a distraction that was. I guess they like to do their investigations through the media instead of asking me directly.
Well, let's just ask you directly then, Dave. Who?
Ask me directly.
Yeah, who was hired, and do you believe the salaries are justified for this program?
Yes. The salary, first of all, like my program manager, who I handpicked because she's running basically $1 billion program like this, and she's working nonstop, is $61,000. And that's their annual salary.
But then it's Dave. Does it seem inflated because it's prorated over 18 months? Could that be maybe why?
Well, they did it. Instead of asking me what it is, it makes it sound worse than what it is. You have to remember, when we were putting together a budget, we were doing this in the height of the quarantine, and we had no idea the extent of this quarantine, the length of time that this was going to do. So we had to run a program with the possibility that we were going to be, God knows how bad this was going to be. So when you put it together a budget, you got to guess, okay, the worst. You got to put in the hazards pay, the overtime pay, the length, 18 months, and these are all guesstimates. And of course, we vetted up to USDOL, and they work with us. They see the salary levels, they see the qualifications that we're asking for of the individuals, and they vet it out, and they were fine with it. So yes, you see 18 months, not 12 months. You see overtime and hazardous pay when we didn't know how long. It could have been for the whole program, or it could be for parts of the program, but you have to budget for the highest number, because if you don't use it, it's no big deal. But if you spend more than the budget, that's a different story. So of course, everybody's overinflated because you don't want to have to go back and ask for more money, because we'd have no idea. I mean, just try to put together a budget in the latter part of March, when you were trying to figure out all this stuff, how to put together a program. Everything was brand new. So we just had to make assumptions, and the assumptions had to figure the worst case scenarios, plan for that, and hope for the best. And that way you have a lot of money. And that's, to me, the best way to do it. Don't you agree?
Well, first I just wanted to go back to what you said about how you handpicked your program manager.
So you don't agree with that method?
Well, I want to ask you about handpicking people. So was everybody handpicked for these positions?
No, she was the only one that I handpicked.
And this is Kathleen Pareto, right? We're talking about.
Yeah,
Okay.
She was the one that works with me. I, of course, had several people in mind. A lot of the people at that time didn't want to stand up to, they were concerned about working during COVID, and their families and their kids. Some of them had Manuncos living with them. So that was always the biggest challenge, was finding willing and able people to work during a COVID when it was just so brand new.
Dave,
And,
in my FOIA, I saw that there was a Noah Pareto hired for this program. Is that Kathleen's son? Is there anything?
not for this program.
Or is he working at the department, or what can you tell us about that?
He's not working. I think he's working over at the AJC under a thing, but he's not. Has nothing to do with the PUA program.
So basically, his mom got him in, or just a separate thing?
No, he went in on a separate thing, applied, and we hire a lot of people down at the AJC. I mean, that's what we do.
Right. Yeah.
There's and we're still looking for about close to 200 more people for to help with the recovery. So I'm telling everybody, if you're interested in working, please submit your application and down at the AJC, and we will be glad. We're trying to get people up and hired. It's been a little bit of a challenge. I didn't think it would be a challenge, but it is getting kind of a challenge. Some people, of course, don't want to work because they got the pool benefit,
right.
And some people don't want to work because of the working. This is for pool recovery.
So for the American Job Center, that's the traditional way of getting hired. It's not handpicked.
Yeah, no, you just go traditionally hired down there. I mean, we get thousands of applications, but not only for just normally unemployed people that have been displaced, and for a number of different ways. We even for this pool program, I was able to pull a couple of work experience that are under the AJC, and we moved them over to the PUA program to get them additional experience, and hopefully the kind of experience that can move them into a permanent job.
Dave, is the handpicking of Kathleen, is this an instance where this is a woman that you've worked with at the department already? Do you have an existing working relationship, and you were just confident that she has the experience to run a $1 billion program?
That's correct.
Okay.
Oh, she was a GDOL employee.
She was an existing
and
GDOL.
she went, because
I think she was an ASO at the court, and then
and she resigned
She was
suddenly.
also a staffer for Senator Pito.
Was she?
I want to say no.
I don't know. I don't think so. I don't
It's
think
a familiar name. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know all the background,
Right,
but she's a very capable employee, and she's been working very hard with me side by side, along with a lot of my core people at the department that have been standing up this program.
How many 18-month employees were brought on board for with the federal funding?
Probably, give or take one or two, maybe like 29.
20, okay.
And
was a job announcement put out, or did they have to apply? There was no rules about applying for the positions or announcing that these positions were available?
No. We took the existing applications that we had at the AJC. I took the existing applications that were submitted at the transition team. So I had
transition team. What transition team?
During the transition, when we were moving in, there was, I don't know, hundreds of applications that were submitted.
You mean transition when
we were
Josh
moving in,
took office?
Yeah,
I see.
I went through a lot of those applications.
Remember they did a call for applications.
Call for application.
Right.
So during a quarantine, it doesn't really make sense to advertise when you're stuck at home. So it was a lot easier to go through my own applications that we had submitted, that we continue to get at the AJC. People don't realize that's half of what we do.
It just kind of
we
sounds
receive applications.
Right. It just sounds fishy, Dave. I'm sure
but
you've been
could
around
put an
the block.
application out online, and people could submit an application online.
I mean, Dave, it just kind of looks like you've handpicked and it's a party thing. I mean, that's how it looks. So, but you're saying it's not.
I can't. I'm not gonna. During the quarantine, there was only 29 positions. It wasn't difficult to get more than enough applications that we needed. I mean, if I was hiring 200, 300 people, that would be a different story. But finding 29, and we still had to vet through a lot of applications to find people who were, like I said, were willing and able to be hired in for this program. And we were moving at such a quick pace that
Pretty good salary, though. I don't know if you advertised those positions with those salaries. I'm pretty sure you would have got a big response. But again, I can see what you're saying, the timeline of it, and you want to work with people that
Thank you.
You know, I get it.
What about the employees that were on detail there? Are they getting any additional pay?
The only additional pay that they get is a hazardous, that is when they are working with the public. That's standard government-wide. Right. Nobody else is getting anything additional.
How about
these?
these?
Our staff that we hired, they get, they're all in the pay scales of DOA, and they get the exact same payments as GovGuam as far as hazardous pay when they are exposed or working with the public.
Okay, and just can we get a list of these 18-month employees?
Sure.
Yeah, I appreciate that.
Hey, Dave. So, like, in the case of someone like Kathleen Pareto, who was an existing DLL, I think she was a special projects coordinator, right? So
program coordinator,
something like that. Yeah. So now that she's the program manager for the FPUC and the PUA, is she still getting the DOL salary on top of the FPUC and PUA? No.
Of course not.
I'm just checking. You know, hey, I've seen Stranger Things, Dave.
I know, but
Yeah.
I'm you guys remember, I'm Department of Labor. I try to lead by example. No, she moved from local funds to the federal funds. So she freed up some of my money in my budget over on my DOL side. And when that's completed, she will move back into her position that she was vacated.
She's making more money in the federal job?
Maybe only like a couple thousand, not much more.
Mm-hmm.
You have to match the program title and the qualifications of what they're doing, the duties and responsibilities. Mm-hmm. And that's what we laid out, and that's what we run by USDOL, and that's what they proved, when we submitted our budget.
Dave, I guess last question here. Does the 21-day number you gave us in it? To be fair, you said that was a timeline that's in the program process, but you did say that you were going to try and do it faster. But does that 21 days?
Still working on that.
Right. Does that?
I am going to try my best. There's so many moving parts to this thing. This program is so exhaustive. But we're going to get a good idea after this morning's meeting, conference call, laying everything out, and hopefully we can put together a timeline. And I'm still shooting and still trying to keep with that ideal that I'm going to try to deliver it sooner than later.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So, but at this point, right now, no claims have been approved, right?
No, they're all sitting in a file that they're clean claims. So we have to then process those claims and to move them into a payment file. I'm not an ASO, but I'm kind of layman terming it here for you. But there's a processing step from. There's a lot of claims, and we're planning to set up and we're laying out the system, how it's supposed to be laid out, the file, so that it can be moved over to DOA once that processing is done, and it's already laid out in the form for them to simply use that dollar amount, draw down the money, and take that file, move it to the bank for an EFT, and then there's another file that's like a check imaging file. That's what they use for cutting the check. I do want to tell you that I'm pretty happy with it's about 11-to-1 ratio of bank accounts to checks that we're noticing. So the call out that you guys have been doing about getting bank accounts instead of trying to do checks seems to be working fairly well. And
let us know if you're hiring next time, Dave, and we can do a call out for people to come apply.
We're hiring, so please come down to the AJC and put in your. Those are for people who have been displaced by the COVID. So if you're unemployed and it's because of the COVID, then please come down and put in your applications down at the AJC.
Right.
DOL is hiring? Or you're...
Yes.
Okay.
That's
No,
from.
no,
Is that
the
from the
AJC.
federal?
You're-
Yeah.
Yes.
That's from the federal.
Well, I'm DOL and the AJC is under me.
Right.
But this is not, so this is part of the program.
Right.
All those, the people that are on the program were hired for the program.
Right. How much did you guys get for that again, Dave? I want to say it was like 20
So,
million or- for the program, the jobs program at AJC.
I don't.
Because I remember it was just it was a smaller award, I think in the tens of millions of dollars or something, right?
No, I think for my program, I only got like 1.7 million.
Okay.
I'm thinking, but I don't know. I don't want to say when I don't know.
We'll follow up with you.
I think 20 million was for the overall administrative costs
I see.
to stand up the whole program. If I'm not mistaken.
Okay. And again,
Out
sorry.
of the 924 million.
Okay. Just one more time, just for complete clarity. You have clean claims, right? Correct?
Yes.
Okay. And
And
but
they
they're not
are-
yet approved until the paycheck folder program is approved? And then once that's
Well,
approved, the
they're,
21-day timeline kicks in.
When you say approved, they're clean and they're ready. And all we're going to do is move them into a payment file, and
Right.
we're going to quickly go over them to make sure there's no duplicate names, that there's no issues with it, and then we were,
So they're clean,
before we do
ready
that, we
for
need to make
approval.
sure that for check writing, you guys keep saying there's an approval when they're the system auto adjudicates it,
Okay.
and that means like it already batches it for a clean claim with no issues,
Okay.
and then we go in there and we need to look at all those claims to make sure, because it can't tell if somebody used the same two names with two different social security numbers.
Right.
Or, we're looking also, are they using a foreign bank? There's all kinds of different things that we need to go in to look at those clean claims before we move them to check, to make sure to look at what kind of fraud that could be in those thousands and thousands of claims. That's additional vetting that we want to do.
Okay.
To make sure that Chris Barnett didn't put in his two claims and didn't put in different social security numbers, and didn't use a Nigerian bank account.
So how many clean claims are there so far? Again?
14,500 are total claims in. I'd say about, and that's a good point. Let me just make this one. About, 5,000-6,000 all have the similar mistake, and that's what I wanted to make sure that you get out. The whole definition of unemployment. If you can please make sure that people, when they're putting in a claim, if you're returned back to work and you're at reduced hours, you're still considered unemployed. And when you do those weekly claims for that week, if you're working, then you don't check that you're employed. You check that you're unemployed if you're reduced hours. So if you're returned to work at your normal hours, then that's the time that you're considered unemployed. And then the first date you were affected, as far as unemployed, that means the first date that you were either laid off or reduced in hours. So if you were initially reduced in hours back in March 15th and then eventually laid off in April, the first date that you were unemployed would be March 15th when you were reduced in salary. So those are kind of the UI terms that people aren't familiar with to understand, and that's where they have clean claims, but they have those little boxes that are not checked correctly that we need to go in and fix.
All right. So
and so please remember, unemployed means reduced hours, laid off, or furloughed.
Okay.
Yeah.
So 14,500 claims filed. About 5,000 to 600 may have some errors. So we're looking at about 8,000 claims that are clean that DOL will still need to vet, and we're still waiting for the paycheck process or check cutting process to be approved, and then the 21 days kicks in.
To be laid out.
Right.
Check processing to be laid out
Right.
into a proper format.
So once
That,
once that's completed,
yeah, we're ready
and the
to roll.
vetting is completed with the 8,000 claims that you have to date,
Yeah.
then you'll be ready, and the 21 days will kick in after that.
No. Once you submitted a
So the clock is
clean
ticking,
claim,
in other
that
words.
starts already. The clock's been ticking.
Okay.
The clock's been ticking since we went soft live that weekend.
Since people submitted their claims.
Submitted successful claim.
Clean.
That clean claim.
Okay.
That's when the clock clicks on that claim.
Got it.
If they have a problem or there's an issue to it, then it doesn't tick, of course, because we have to try to rectify those problems depending on what that problem is.
I think some
But
people
we're
would,
making progress.
Yeah, I think some people would argue that the clock's been ticking since they lost their jobs.
Well,
I know you're moving
and,
quick.
you know, I feel that.
Right. I
Thank
feel
you
yeah.
for. I don't know. Is that a compliment or is that a?
It
I
is
think
what
it's more
it
like
is.
a understanding.
It's a statement, Dave.
Okay, thank
Yeah.
you. You said everything.
Okay.
Good job on doing it faster.
Yeah. Okay, we're gonna let you go because I know you got that 8 o'clock thing. Right.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, appreciate it, Dave.
Appreciate talking to you.
Of
guys.
course,
Wash your
always.
hands.
Yeah,
Bye.
wash your hands.
Bye.
Okay, right on. Oh, there you go, Dave Della Sola, of course, Department of Labor.
Yep, 14,000. I think you said 14,500 claims filed online. There are about 5,000 to 6,000 that may have some errors, and then 8,000 that are clean. They were just waiting for DOL. They got to vet that a little bit further.
Yep.
And today he's working on clearing up how they're going to get the checks cut or something like that. And then once
I
that's
don't know.
done,
I think the pressure it's always been on, but now that we have a hand-picked, highly paid staff to help with these claims, people are going to be expecting more results more faster. What'd you make of that, Bree? Did you buy it, the whole hand-picked thing?
no.
Nah, I didn't either.
You know, I think, I mean, people who are online, they
I mean, it is what
Or
it
what-
is. These are
right.
just the guys who
I
kiss
didn't
ass.
know that,
The-
the people were chosen.
Who are the 21 best
They-
ass kissers in here? Okay, 29 best. Yeah.
They pulled the application from the transition.
That was hilarious.
That kind of threw me off there.
It was only hilarious because I know people who, and we're going back, this is going back to when Lou and Josh were taking office. They remember they said that, how are we going to hire, because the media was like, are you just going to hire, whatever political, person? And they were like, no, God, well, no, we're going to do an application thing. So you fill out an application and you email it. And of course, anybody's application who wasn't politically connected didn't set up canopies. They went to the Jim Moylan bin.
Do not respond.
Yeah.
Do not
Because I know people. I know like a dude who was so qualified to lead an agency, and he really believed that if he put in his application, sorry, I don't mean to laugh at the guy, but it was like, bro, you are naive. This guy was like, he kept calling Adelup, like, no, my application. And
Yeah, I was surprised.
Yeah.
Wow, I didn't know that that's where, they were pulling their people from the transition.
I mean, it depends. I'm not calling Dave a liar, but you really, they still have all those 2-year-old applications on file? Really? I mean, we're talking about applications that go back to January of last year, Bree.
I know.
Yeah.
But he said they're still hiring.
Yeah, they are. I don't know if you're going to get the 61,000, 168,000, 18-month hookup, but, they might have something. The American Job Center, I think a lot of the jobs are minimum wage and up. Well, it is what it is. 7:44. Hey, he's been on hold. He had to sit through that whole thing with Dave. We have the University of Guam president, Dr. Tom Christ. First of all, thank you for your patience, Doc.
Happy day. Yes, no problem. Great conversation you're having.
Yeah, it was pretty interesting. So we wanted to bring you on here to talk about a new CARES program that you guys are kicking off at the university, and so we'll go ahead and give you the floor. If you could tell us a little bit more about that, Doc.
Yeah, so we've launched a thing called UOG Cares, and we're really trying to make the university as supportive of our students as possible, because we really think it's important for students to continue their education, and for those who are thinking finishing high school and wanting to move on, or people out in the workforce who want to come back to school or come to school for the first time. We want to make it possible. We want to make sure that they know that we're doing everything we can to be as supportive as we can. So there's sort of several parts to it. One is the financial relief to make it more affordable, because we're all aware that this pandemic has really done a number on incomes, on jobs, on the ability to pay for everything. So financial relief, academic support of all kinds, and our students sort of and faculty lurched into an online experience, as we all did in beginning in March, and so we want to make sure everybody knows that the experience is going to be a lot different if we continue with some of the online activities, including this summer. All the courses this summer online, and so we're getting better at that. And then campus health and wellness, too, are elements of this CARES focus, because we all know this is a psychologically challenging time, and the EASA Psychological Services Center has been doing amazing work all through this pandemic, not just for students and employees of the university, but also for the whole community of Guam. So amazing work by Dr. Ian Twaddle and his team of counselors. So those are some of the elements of it.
How do people avail of these initiatives?
So we have on the website, if you go to uog.edu, there's a tab for the UOG Cares, and so you can see the financial relief of a 5% rebate on tuition for new and returning students for the Sanan semester starting in August. That's the August to December semester. We have reduced fees already for the current FNAPO summer courses here. And so those courses actually are really pleased with the enrollments. They're really holding up to last year, and so people are really paying attention to the opportunity to continue or get their education while in this sort of semi-quarantine state. And then we're working on trying to figure out some possible further reductions or rebates for the next semester, because we're not quite sure exactly how we will be, and so we're not quite sure which services will be necessary and which ones won't be. And then the whole financial relief comes under an initiative that our provost and senior vice president, Dr. Anita Enriquez, initiated, the College Affordability Initiative. And so this is focusing on financial aid and on jobs and internships. We're really keen on getting as many of our students as possible to have off-campus or on-campus jobs and internships to get job skills, to build their resumes, and to practice the kinds of things they're learning in the classroom. And we've also got flexible payment options for the bursar's office, and we're also some really innovative stuff with textbook and meal credits. And so the textbook issue is trying to figure out a pretty substantial reduction on textbooks, and you all know how expensive textbooks are. But they're electronic textbooks that'll come at a pretty significant discount. So we're getting all those processes in place.
How has COVID-19 affected the numbers for enrollment?
Yeah, so the summer, it's actually our summer enrollments, so our 3 sessions, A, B, and C. A is really, it's a little bit more than last year, and then B and C are filling up in a way that looks a lot like a normal summer to us, so that's really encouraging. And our enrollments actually for the Sanan semester starting in August are doing pretty well compared to last year. And kudos to our enrollment management and student success staff, and figured out a whole online and virtual way to reach out to students. And so there's been much more online counseling and advising students in all the high schools, and also trying to come up with new ways to support students in a virtual environment, or in one of these kinds of environments where we're planning maybe to shift. Some will be on campus and in person, and some will be more online. It'll be some kind of hybrid of the two, or if we have to go into another kind of shutdown scenario, then we'll be prepared to do that in a way much more effective than the sort of emergency version that we had in this past semester.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
so we're actually encouraged by the enrollment. So.
Right, and even just looking at these financial relief programs, I mean, for someone like me, it's almost like, feel like maybe I should go back to school and do some online learning. Expand my knowledge.
And that's a good thing to do, and it's tough to find a job or keep a job or try to keep your hours up, in this kind of environment. Going back to school, getting more skills, adding to your resume is a really smart thing to do. So we're trying to figure out how to do that, how to be as supportive of that kind of move as we can be.
All right, Dr. Kreis, is there anything else that I know you guys had a very successful I want to say telethon, but pledge drive. Was there? And I know that when we last talked, you were mentioning about the possibility, maybe about doing it again to help raise some money. Is that still on the table?
Yeah. So we're actually the next big virtual thing we're working on is the virtual commencement that'll be at 7 p.m. on Thursday, June 18th. And so that'll be on Facebook Live. And so that's a great, really interesting event. We've got a daughter of Guam, the Honorable Yuri Kim, the U.S. Ambassador to Albania, will be our commencement speaker. Wow. We've got over 300 graduates. We have just about 300 pictures and videos from the graduates, and still collecting more for the graduates. So that'll be make that as close to traditional as we can. And then a note that anybody who has a virtual commencement is invited to come to a traditional in-person one at any time in the future. So we'll make sure to include people in the future in in-person ones. So that's the next virtual thing. We have spent all of the now more than actually we've spent about $76,000 on personal protective equipment and on meals. So our global learning and engagement team under Carlos Taitano organized meals for thousands and thousands of meals for all these health centers around the island, where a lot of our nursing faculty and students and other people associated with our School of Health have been serving in call centers and the health centers. And so they've spent all that money. And so I think we all need to prepare for another wave. We really need to keep up the PPE. We've had tremendous support from individual donors, from Rotary clubs, from lots of people to try to get more equipment and materials. So we need to keep that up. And so, we'll keep that in mind for the possibility to have another fundraiser to buy more of that material.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Dr. Kreis. I know we're going to be sharing the link for the virtual graduation to help highlight what you guys are doing over there. So thank you again, and take care.
Great. Thanks to you both.
Wash your hands, Doc.
Yeah, you too, Mossy. Yeah,
okay.
You too.
All right. Dr. Tom Kreis, a heck of a cha-cha dancer. I was at a function, and it was, just so you guys know, I'm pretty sure when these off-island hires come to Guam, they're like, hey, anything I should know before I get there? Yeah, you should know how to cha-cha. 7:51. Hey, we're having Lieutenant Governor Josh Tenorio on the show. We have that weekly commitment, and he did commit yesterday to call in around 8:15. So if you're looking to hear from the Lieutenant Governor of Guam, keep it where you got it. It's containing COVID. Let's go over to the phones and keep it with the doctor. So a medical doctor here from Public Health, Dr. Jana Maglotnia. Good morning, Doc.
Good morning. Can I tell you about cha-cha? I've gained so much weight in quarantine that when I walk, it looks like I'm cha-chaing. It's not funny.
It's not. Well, I can laugh because I feel attacked. Doc,
Good morning.
You guys are all the way in Inarajan today for community testing, right?
You got it. At the Southern Region Community Health Center. And I want to emphasize there's been a little bit of a twist. The testing now, no symptoms are needed. I think when we first started, we were looking for some symptoms, but now nothing. If you want to show up and be tested, please show up. And that way we can tell how much disease that we have out in the community, and we've been lucky because it looks like everything's looking pretty good in Guam. Mm-hmm. We'll be at Inarajan today, tomorrow at Mong Mong Church, then on the 11th at the Marito Senior Center, next week on the 16th at PT Mayor Office, 17th Santa Rita Senior Center, the 18th at Community St. Anthony Church, 23rd at Barragata Community Center, and the 24th at the Agana Mayor. So it's quite an island sweep
And it's pretty interesting because it does seem like people are coming out and getting tested. I've been seeing the numbers, so it's a really good thing, and good job to you guys.
We can't say anything about who's coming out because of HIPAA, but on that note, I haven't seen your all's names.
I know, right?
Yeah.
I was actually supposed to go last week, but then I had a meeting here that I couldn't get away from.
Yeah, you were having cough, fever, and shortness of breath and couldn't go.
Mostly just loss of taste.
Oh, it's just the smell that bugs us. But no, I'm joking. It was total bluff. So you didn't get tested, huh? You guys need to get out and get tested.
Yes, I'm gonna make it a point to do that.
You know, Doc, I actually got my swab up my nostril for some B-roll. I want to say this is
early on, yeah.
Early on with American Medical Center and Dr. Akimoto, and man, that thing, I almost cried.
They say it's not real comfortable, so I wish you wouldn't advertise that. I heard it feels really good.
It actually tickles, yeah.
Yes, really, yeah.
Yep.
And you get a sticker.
If you ever had anyone
and a lollipop.
If you ever had anyone kiss your ear, that's how it feels. That should get you a couple dozen.
I want to know who's kissing your ear.
Hey, Doc. So yeah, people are coming out, and I know you've been at the last couple. What are they saying? Because you're right. This is a kind of a new criteria. Before it was like you had to have all these symptoms, and now it's just open to everybody. So what are they saying?
People are just curious. Even if they had no symptoms, it's just natural. I did a test. Did I ever have any symptoms? No. I didn't do the swab. I did the bogus test, basically the serology. I think everyone's curious because we know that some people are asymptomatic and carrying it, and we know some people have a really mild go of it. So they just want to check whether they had anything or not. So this is good for everyone. And if you aren't from that area and you would like to go navigate down there and get tested, that's okay too. We'll take anyone who shows up. Plenty of tests out there, and it's good to get everyone checked. I haven't heard any rumors about being tested. Like I've heard people say when you get a biopsy of a lung cancer, it spreads everywhere. I haven't heard any rumors like if they're going to catch it off the swab or anything like that. But just in case, the swabs are all clean, everyone gets their own, they're not reused, and there's no way for you to get it from any of the procedure that occurs. So needn't be afraid. It isn't the most comfortable thing because it makes you want to sneeze or cough or whatever.
Yeah, and let's be real. That's about is it comfortable? Does it feel good? No, but it's not childbirth or anything.
I've had more complaints over swabs elsewhere than there.
It's like someone was complaining to me about, I got to go to the mall. They got to check my temperature. I'm like, hey, at least it's not the rectal thermometer. You got to look at the bright side, guys.
Oh my goodness.
Okay.
At least they didn't confuse the thermometers. Got the wrong one.
Yeah.
Doc, with the results that we're seeing a lot of zeros here, and we've got the public health emergency. It's in effect until June 30th, I think. If we stay on this track, are you looking at the possibility that we might go into PCOR 3?
I think there's chatter about it because obviously that's what we're all looking for, and we have to look forward, because all good things have to end. Even bad things have to end. But I think that's what everyone's looking forward to, and they talk about a second wave, and I think some people think the second wave is that it's going to hit us again. It's going to come back and sweep through like the typhoon, reversing its track and coming back through. It's not that. It's that now as we sort of come out of our holes and lift the lid and peek to see what's out there, we're expecting some to sort of creep back in, and it's going to be like balancing a ship on a wave. You give a little and then you see where you are, give a little, see where you are, and try to just keep it balanced. And if at some point everything is in place, if we open up a little and it starts to flare again because we let some of it in, then we'll back off a little, and it'll be a delicate dance. That's why when someone says, "Do you think I can go on this trip on July 1st?" Tell me what's happening June 30th, and I'll answer that question. It's really a day-to-day thing, even since the inception of this. It's how we react to it, what kind of testing we do, everything. It's just day-to-day. And we're all walking through this together. It's hard to find anyone with answers, because when you ask a question, they're like, "We were wondering that too." You know? But we're all going through it together, and Guam as a whole has done great. We have these little hiccups here and there, but overall the impact has been wonderful, because it hasn't caused any kerfluffle with the numbers or anything like that. And so we're looking at now to start letting people come in, and certain groups get to go to home quarantine, and if they're from what they call a hotspot area where the cases are just soaring, and we have numbers for this, then of course those people will still require quarantine, because of all the things we've done, quarantine has been the most effective.
Right, yeah. Doc, let me cut in here. We're at KUAM FM, Agotni, Guam. It's Containing COVID, the KUAM News takeover of Guam's favorite. Good morning to our viewers on KUAM TV 11. On the line now, we have the Medical Director for Public Health, Dr. Janma Glotnia, and we're currently discussing quarantine protocols for travelers who are returning or coming into Guam from hotspots. And Doc, I wanted to ask, is the United States listed as a hotspot? Because people keep asking me, hey, well, the U.S. is at a crazy spike the last few days.
Right. What we're looking at is the overall trend. There's a formula. This is coming out of the Physicians Advisory Group,
right.
not Public Health.
She's like, not involved. That's the Physicians Advisory Group.
Yes, I'm in both, so I'm wearing both hats.
Okay.
But this Public Health, overall, they're like the governor, and the Public Health is married to the governor, and so everyone tosses out these plans and these formulas, and then they look at it, and some they accept, some they reject, and some they want a little more information. So we keep on meeting every week, several times a week, and we go, how about this? Is this palatable? Does it look doable? And the heads of everything look at our infrastructure, how are we doing on the hospital, how are we doing with our test kits, and they look at the whole thing to see if it would work, if it's a good fit. And so the formulas that the PAG group is using, we look at doubling rates, and in certain areas where the number of cases, if you go from 10 to 20 in a certain amount of time, then you would be a hot spot. If you go from 10 to 20 in 60 days, who cares? If you go 10 to 20 overnight, everyone cares. So we look at the doubling rates, and doubling in the illness, not in the death. And if it fluctuates every day, so someone may not be a hot spot today and they are tomorrow. So that's the formula we're using, because we had to put a number to it, because everyone is concerned about where people are coming from. If you visited there, or if you live there and you're coming here, it's not about Guam, it's where you're coming from. Then it becomes Guam's issue after you land here.
Right.
So we got to know where you're coming from.
That being said, Doc, what do you make of these? I think there was one yesterday and another June 3rd. These people coming from Guam, flying into Saipan and popping positive for COVID-19.
Well, I think last I heard, Saipan is still quarantining at the PIC, aren't they? 14 days?
Yeah.
I think that even if you come in with a negative test. And now, for a long time we said a negative test doesn't mean much, because you can be actually positive and it doesn't register for a few more days. Well, now we're finding positive tests after a period of time may not mean much either. And so you can't just take the test now and look at it just in your hand like a pregnancy test. You have to look at it in the context. Like, you might walk in and test positive. I walk in and test positive. I end up in the hospital, and everyone yawns when you come in positive because it's old news. Maybe you were positive 2 months ago, and it's just, as you put it, crumbs. I keep quoting you. I give you no credit for it except on your show because I like that. I'm so noble. But anyway, and so it just depends now, because as this thing evolves, we're finding that people do still test positive way out. And so so it's positive, but what then? What's the story? You have to know the backstory on all this now, because it's been around a while. So a positive in March meant a whole lot more than a positive means now when someone's just shopping for eggs at the grocery store. So I don't know. There's so much to be learned about this virus. But
Still, even now.
yeah, even now. But hey, we even though we don't know, we've done what we can to mitigate it, and Guam has done great. I think Vietnam has had no deaths and they've held their numbers down, but I don't know many areas that are better than Guam. The community as a whole has just been stellar. And then you've got the people, now that we've shut down, you've got people that come back and go, see, it wasn't that bad.
Right.
It's like someone says, hey, there's a missile coming in, duck down. You duck down and the missile doesn't hit you. You go, see, what was the point in ducking down? It didn't hit me. And you're like, okay, where do I start? Who ties your shoes in the morning? Yeah. but we dodged some bullets, and I'm not embarrassed about that.
Of course.
Doc, are you involved with this pilot project with the children, with the Japanese school and other smaller institutions of learning?
There's a subgroup from the PAG group that's doing that, and Dr. Michael Ohm is involved, and Dr. Berg, a lot of people from our little group,
right.
And so I'm hearing it's our attempt at slowly opening the door and tiptoeing out the door to see if the typhoon's passed. We're trying to do everything in baby steps,
right?
And that's just part of the baby step as far as schooling, because the goal is to get everything to Core 3. Core 3 will be almost life as we knew it before, except social distancing and masks are probably here to stay for quite a while,
right.
if not forever.
Doc, I guess a last question, because we got to take care of some business here. And
another half an hour, I'm good.
Okay, well, I mean, I'm good too, but...
Me too.
So, the last wave of businesses that, well, at least what I was thinking is, we've opened the gyms, we opened the food courts, the small schools are doing a study.
Right.
I'm just wondering if you have heard anything, or if you could tell us why we haven't discussed the opening of movie theaters and bars and lounges, because we've opened restaurants for dine-in, and some of these restaurants have the bars in them. So I was just wondering, is there a public health reason for this?
I don't think so. I think it's just part of the step by step, and we've got to. We're doing really essential places first as much as we can, and then we're getting to the less essential. But we've got to be able to, I don't want to say police it, but we've got to be able to deal with, if we open to everything, we're going to be getting calls right and left. You know, this place has a group here, and, you know, we're trying to do it little by little. I don't, there is no how-to manual on this.
Okay. I thought there was a reason, like...
No big reason. Okay. But those are great cluster places, and we've been asked about bingo, and it's just difficult to space at certain places, and so we're doing that little by little. But there was no sweeping reason for that.
I see. Okay. Yeah, you're right. Happy hour from 6 feet away.
Exactly. You know, if you go there to hook up, it's going to be difficult. No, you're going to be yelling across the bar, going, "Did you get my text? Hey, babe, did you get my text?"
No, I'm good. I'm getting my ear kissed.
And it hurts.
Okay, Doc, we got to go.
Always a pleasure.
Yep.
All mine.
I got your new picture up, by the way.
Oh, did you?
Yeah.
Selfie of Kim Kardashian.
Yeah, pretty. Yep,
Looking
pretty Kimmy.
hot.
It's all it's au natural.
That's got to be pre-COVID hair, though.
Oh my gosh. Okay.
Thanks, Doc. Okay,
Yes,
wash your
I'll
hands.
see you soon.
All right.
Okay.
Bye.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, there you go.
I love her.
Yeah, Dr. McGlotney, Public Health, really just an awesome lady. Hey, we're going to take a break. Again, the show, thank you for joining us on KUAM TV 11. There's so many ways. Here's an audio feed. Docomo Channel 10, we're streaming live.
To hook up. Oh, wow.
At KUAM.com. I just wanted to ask about the bars and the theaters because they're like the last thing of things that haven't opened yet. 809. Again, you can catch us on KUAM TV 11 and also on the Edward R. Murrow Award-winning social media networks of KUAM. We're going to take a short break. Coming back with the Lieutenant Governor of Guam, Lieutenant Governor Josh Tenorio, next on Containing COVID, which is all proudly brought to you by Ambrose Inc., Coast 360, the Bank of Guam, Calvo Enterprises, and IT&E, with a special thanks going out to CS.
Oh, yes.
Yes. Where's our...
Right here. It's so good. Thanks, Milk.
Yeah, our champ Milk over at Coffee Slut in East, or is that East Agani or West? It's in again. You know where it's at. All right, so thank you guys for powering the multimedia broadcast extravaganza that is Containing COVID. Good morning.
Locally roasted.
Keeping you informed, KUAM News brings you Banking 671, brought to you by the Bank of Guam, the People's Bank, and Coast 360 Federal Credit Union. Together, we thrive.
KUAM News COVID-19 Takeover on I-94 FM is presented locally by Ambrose Inc.
GU Self-Storage, conveniently located near the Harmon McDonald's. We offer affordable rates, online payments, and auto bill pay for your convenience. Plus gate access daily from 6 a.m. to 9 p.m. Call us today at 648-7867 for more information.
With the new challenges we're all facing, First Hawaiian Bank wants to make sure you have access to your financial world. With FHB Online and our mobile app, we hope to make banking the least of your worries. Visit fhb.com/digital.
We hope that you and your loved ones are safe and healthy during the COVID-19 pandemic. It has been a challenging time for all, but now, more than ever, our cancer patients and caregivers need us. Although we are apart, we stand united in the fight against cancer. The American Cancer Society Guam is excited to announce our first virtual Relay for Life. Join us on Saturday, June 27th at 6:30 p.m. on KUAM TV 8, as well as on I-94 FM and streaming on KUAM News digital platforms. Cancer does not stop, and neither can we. On June 27th, let's celebrate together and fight cancer. Visit relayforlife.org/GuamGU to find out how you can participate in the 2020 virtual Relay for Life Guam.
Healthy. Be informed with IT&E.
It's not always easy trying something new. Sometimes you have to help your loved ones along. Nana is so used to her weekly trips to the bank that going online can be a little scary for her. But her grandson knows that banking online is safer and easier. So he's teaching her how to get started using Bank of Guam's online banking videos. Teaching is one way to show our loved ones we care. Keep your family safe at home and show them how to bank online. Find easy-to-use online banking tutorials at bankofguam.com or on our Instagram and Facebook pages. Bank of Guam, member F.
Be healthy. Be informed with IT&E.
Keeping you informed, KUAM News brings you Banking 671, brought to you by the Bank of Guam, the People's Bank, and Coast 360 Federal Credit Union. Together, we thrive.
KUAM News COVID-19 Takeover on I-94 FM is presented locally by Ambrose Inc.
GU Self-Storage, conveniently located near the Harmon McDonald's. We offer affordable rates, online payments, and auto bill pay for your convenience. Plus gate access daily from 6 a.m. to 9 p.m. Call us today at 648-7867 for more information.
With the new challenges we're all facing, First Hawaiian Bank wants to make sure
Panogit sa moru, purita nonda, kantai mantunat nyagitoru ilugar. Para honra, para gloria, abiba islasen para honra, para gloria, abiba islasen para gitodu i tempo i paz para ita dan gini langit na bendición contra i peligro na fansafuham Deus protegis languam contra i peligro na fansafuham Deus protegis languam.
Keeping you informed, KUAM News brings you Banking 671, brought to you by the Bank of Guam, the People's Bank, and Coast 360 Federal Credit Union. Together, we thrive.
KUAM News COVID-19 Takeover on I-94 FM is presented locally by Ambrose Inc.
GU Self-Storage, conveniently located near the Harmon McDonald's. We offer affordable rates, online payments, and auto bill pay for your convenience. Plus gate access daily from 6 a.m. to 9 p.m. Call us today at 648-7867 for more information.
With the new challenges we're all facing, First Hawaiian Bank wants to make sure you have access to your financial world. With FHB Online and our mobile app, we hope to make banking the least of your worries. Visit fhb.com/digital.
We hope that you and your loved ones are safe and healthy during the COVID-19 pandemic. It has been a challenging time for all, but now, more than ever, our cancer patients and caregivers need us. Although we are apart, we stand united in the fight against cancer. The American Cancer Society Guam is excited to announce our first virtual Relay for Life. Join us on Saturday, June 12th.
Yeah. Taking you back with Mr. Keith. Good stuff, local girls. 8:20. Good morning. Let's get right to the phones. I know he's a busy guy, so definitely appreciate every opportunity that we have with him here on the show. Lieutenant Governor of Guam, Lieutenant Governor Josh Tenorio. Good morning, LT.
Hey, good morning, Chris.
Good morning.
Hey, Sabrina, good morning. How are you doing?
I just ran back to the front, so I'm catching my breath.
We have our
You were outside and you had to come back in?
Yeah.
I ran to the back to my office, so my office is in the back of the station, and then the radio station's in the front. So go ahead, Chris, you were saying something?
No, we have our friend Mikey, who, I don't know if you guys know Mikey, rides around this area on a bike. He's always got a bunch of snacks on the handlebars.
Yeah.
Somebody took his clothes, so we had to go find him a pair of pants.
So I ran to go get some of my gym clothes.
Right, good guy. So if you see, I mean, just so you know, if you see someone rolling around Harmon, snacks on the handlebars in Sabrina's workout spandex,
it's sanctioned.
That's what. There's a backstory. LT, let's just jump right into it. I know that you had some briefings and meetings yesterday that you were going to update us on. So we'll just go ahead and give you the floor for the first part, and just tell us what you want to get out to the people of Guam.
Well, you know, first of all, of course, on the healthcare side, so we've been getting great numbers with the community testing, but still want to express that we still are in a state of public health emergency, and although we were, like I said last week, although we're very optimistic, but this virus is still on Guam, and we do have to remember that. And I just want to encourage people to continue their posture that brought us to this point, because really the success of Guam in pushing back on the public health side has to do with the people of Guam and how they care for each other and how they've been willing to sacrifice and set aside their normal lives for what we're experiencing right now. So that's the first thing that I want to say. And now, of course, the second thing is going to be based on all of the economic aid that is that our people are entitled to. And the big one, now that we've seen the rebate paid, we have the program Salapi. That one, the hard deadline for new applicants is June 12th. However, there's several thousand applications that are incomplete. They will continue to be worked on. It could be for various reasons. There might be an upload error in their form of ID, or maybe some other documentation that's missing. All of those will continue to be worked on, and people from the Public Health Call Center and from Department of Administration will be calling people to get their applications complete, and they will do that through the end of the month. Now, the big one, or I guess maybe the second big one, the biggest one was the EIP. It's the unemployment. Mm-hmm. And so the total number of claims that have been filed is about 14,494. And out of those, there's a large number that nearly 8,000 that need more work. And so there's a large amount of these claims that seem like there may be an error in how people interpreted a question. And our press office and labor will continue to try and get people to understand. But I think, as I understand it from my team, when there's a question that prompts and asks whether or not your hours were reduced or you were laid off or furloughed because of COVID, some people are thinking that the question is that they had COVID when it was displaced because of this, COVID economic displacement. So there's a large number in this call center that is up at GCC, staffed by GovGuam employees, and some volunteers are calling people to go over those discrepancies and try and get them cleared. On top of that, there seems to be some people that are outside of Guam trying to file, and those are of course being reviewed to make sure that there is no fraud. But there are also people that are filing that are retirees that are not entitled. So all of that administrative stuff is being settled. And today, for the claims, several thousand claims that are cleared already, I know that DOA and Labor are meeting with their vendor to make sure that we can try and beat the mandated deadline. And the mandated procedure from the feds is that the governments have 3 weeks from the time that the claim was filed to pay. And I know that Dave De La Sola and our administration are trying to make sure that we really beat that deadline. So today I'm looking forward to hearing yet another channel open and to try and see whether or not these claims that I guess, for lack of a term, clear, would be able to get paid at the soonest. The other thing is that we're still tracking with Department of Education all of the commodities that the U.S. Department of Agriculture is sending over, and so this week there is distribution. The distribution side at Dededo has finished, have depleted their staged bags, so they are done for today. And there's the other operation that started is down in Agate and Umatic, and that will that's continuing as we speak. Also this morning we have testing at the Inarajan Public Health Center for Inarajan or Southern residents that want to get tested. Tomorrow, I believe, is at MTM, and then on Thursday there is a village, and so keep up to date with the Joint Information Center to hear about that kind of stuff. Homeless RFP is still ongoing. GSA and Civil Defense reported yesterday that they are in the middle of that RFP, and then the services side, they're doing some work on that to push that out. And then finally, and maybe most importantly, I just want to congratulate all the graduates. Usually, Chris and Sabrina, we get to kind of read about the valedictorian and the salutatorian's addresses, but because there's no graduations, those speeches weren't given at graduations. So what we're doing is, I believe that we already have 7 schools done. We are recording the Valleys and Sallies, their addresses, and we will be rolling them out in the next couple days. And I think it's kind of cool for the greater population to hear what our young people have to say. And I feel I always get optimistic when I hear, the plans they have for the future. So
right. I mean, but
kind of like for a quick speed run on some of the things that I wanted to share with you today.
That's pretty interesting, the filming of the Valleys and Sallies. I'm really curious because I feel like a lot of these graduation speeches, they kind of run the same, in the same territory. But with COVID-19, I'm really curious to see what these Valleys and Sallies are saying because, this is, talk about curveball.
Some of them, the future is it's just a little different than what they expected. They're kids that are supposed to leave for university, but their universities are going to only be online. So I have a nephew, I told him, I said, hey, you're saving on rent. When you get to go back, you get to go back. But, it is something that is something that we have to deal with, including, by the way, with our students now. And maybe the thing that I didn't mention is last week we worked with the Physicians Advisory Group and the Department of Education. They've come up with some draft plans that they're putting out for input and comment with their administration and with the doctors on what the new normal will be for the upcoming school year. those are all pending, and I know that the superintendent is working hard. Same thing with EOG and GCC. They actually already have their plans. They're really meeting with their stakeholders, and what we're doing is trying to help push and help fund, and we will fund access to distance learning and stuff with some of the federal funds that have come our way.
Right. And in what way, LT, are you guys looking at?
Well, so for the university and college, and this is all very draft because we are pushing our spending plan together. It still is being vetted, but I don't mind telling you kind of like some of the discussions. For the folks at UOG and GCC, one of the things that we're crunching numbers and seeing whether or not it's going to be beneficial is providing a direct subsidy for the students and to refund all of their technology fees, the fees that are giving them their Wi-Fi access on campus, things like that, because we understand that UOG and GCC, especially GCC, are making some decisions to also get devices that they'd be able to push out to students to jumpstart and get their education started. And for all of the rest of the students, both public and private, we're crunching numbers and we're looking at a process to try and see what we can do to basically subsidize and we're trying to see whether or not we could get a waiver, a voucher program for households with the kids in elementary K to 12 to help pay for their current or pay for needed connectivity for broadband service, things like that. So the only thing there we're trying to really, I have to say that we're very lucky that we have pretty good telecom resources, but making sure that we have coverage in all the areas and seeing whether or not we have to push in additional super Wi-Fi sites, maybe in the public libraries. Those are all being looked at right now. But generally speaking, that's the direction, is really to try and help students get direct access to the internet and therefore access to broadband for distance learning or to access to get educational materials that would subsidize or supplement the instruction they're getting with the schools.
LT, how, I don't know, this is something I remember, I think there's former Senator Dennis Rodriguez had floated an idea, and this is way back, about Wi-Fi zones, and how realistic would it be to set up big routers and maybe some of these government agency parking lots? I'm just thinking out loud here.
No, you're actually I actually have a couple people on my team that are looking at that,
right?
And seeing where the gaps are and seeing whether or not we put them on community centers and public libraries and other areas. We've been also talking about and both UOG, GCC, and DOE are also looking at that and verifying what their contracts are and seeing what we can do to try and get that. DOE is in a good situation, I would say, because they've been on the E-rate for many years. So the technology and the fiber that's running throughout the public schools is very, very strong and very, very solid. And then UOG, in a partnership with UH, because of research grant, they have access to the internet too, which is for research and education. So we've been meeting. We have a weekly call amongst that I convene with those three agencies, and we're getting our IT folks together to make sure that we maximize or optimize the resources we have to, with the goal of bridging access for the students to get as many information and support for this school year that's coming up.
Nice. We had Dave Della Sola on about an hour ago, and we kind of went in on this hiring that the Republican Party had put out a press release, which I don't really want to touch too much on. But are you confident, LT, of the hiring of the staff to help administer this the PUA and the FPUC programs? When I say confident, David said that we didn't advertise these jobs. They were handpicked by the director. So I guess my question to you is, you think that this process and the people who were hired will stand up to added scrutiny? Because, like I told Dave, it kind of just looks like a party system thing.
No, I think so. I mean, remember, these are at-will temporary jobs. And so originally one of the thoughts was, hey, why don't we try and get, some of the HR folks that are, especially in Tumon, since that's pretty much going to be the big source of the workforce. But after working with the industry, it looked like, quite frankly, the HR folks were going to be the last, and they're still working. And what we end up doing is bringing the HR folks into Department of Labor, helping them guide the employers through the registration process, and offering additional areas within their the hotels' HR areas for the furloughed staff to get online and do the application. So it kind of went on that. But no, I'm pretty confident. I think that everybody really wants to do a good job, and I think the director there is doing things the right way.
I think just, people were just kind of like critical of the fact that it didn't go out. People didn't know that they were hiring for these positions, and what it appeared to Dave did was he went through the transition, people who applied during the transition.
Did you hear that,
your
LT?
Administration.
Yeah.
Dave said that you guys have a bunch of applications. I mean, he didn't say this, but he said that, and I remember when you guys went into office, you had said that
there's thousands. Yeah,
right.
That's true.
So where are these applications at? Is there just they're sitting in a filing cabinet somewhere?
Yeah, literally.
And so that was what Dave was like. Hey, where are those applications? Let me look through them.
Yeah,
and I mean, when you take into account you have 38,000 who have reduced hours or without a job.
They probably are digital, and so that because remember there were e-submissions at the time. I'm confident that he selected the right people and that we're going to get the aid out, and just appreciate the people that are working on this and the dedication and try and get this done.
Mm-hmm. Can we switch subjects now? Did you want to ask anything else about that?
I was going to ask about the Tier 2 clinics and the status of the payment. LT, have we moved forward at all since I know we discussed it last week?
So there is a kind of like a strategy being developed, and I think that it'll be the deadline for it to be actually presented to the physicians is Thursday. And part of it is, I think in my view, my recommendation is we go at it and we look at it, like I said last week, as a healthcare stabilization and an aid for all of these clinics that are suffering some economic loss because the patients weren't coming in. Because I think that the issue has been, they've been, when we haven't received billings that can be paid for as reimbursements. And I think the complexities, as I learned, is, when their patients come and it's charged to insurance, then it's not something that the government can double pay for. And I think that's where some of the complications are when you're dealing with patients, hundreds of patients in your database. So there is a proposal that is being vetted right now, and part of the vetting, I think, will make its way to the physicians where all the major clinics are in the Tier 2, and see whether or not that's something that we can approach in that way and give them and with the outcome and the objective we're looking for is to have these clinics stable and definitely open through this period of time.
Is this a different proposal that's before the AG's office?
You know what? I'm not sure I'm not sure what's in front of the AG's office.
Oh, I thought that's what Dr. Hoa.
Yeah, we just heard. I think with the AMC, they're trying to go the AG's office route, and then, because I forwarded the emails.
No, if they're going to file a claim, obviously, then that. Of course, if there's a claim, that they need to file. But I'll probe more and find out where that is. Right. In my mind, whatever outlet it is that we could provide the assistance, that's what I'd like to get done.
Right. And so, LT, what about that $7 million that was budgeted in the CARES Act budget proposal that came out from BVMR? Is this some of the money that you're talking about?
No, that's the money. All reserved for that money is being reserved for healthcare.
Okay.
That is absolutely right.
I do want to
all clinics.
Okay. I just want to give you the opportunity to respond to one of the questions we have on our Facebook page before I move on. But this one is back to the Department of Labor and the hiring for some who were handpicked and hiring from the transition applications. One of our viewers is asking, why wasn't the public notified they needed jobs also?
You know what? I can't answer that question myself. All I could say or guess is that when you're trying to launch a program in a few weeks and you're trying to fast track, that was the fastest, most efficient way to get a temporary workforce. These are not permanent jobs. They're very temporary jobs. And so, that's, I guess, how I would respond to it.
Okay. Now, I wanted to talk about, because the environment is one of my things that I like talking about. There's an island-wide trash cleanup. You're the head of the Island-wide Beautification Task Force. If you could share more about that with our listeners and viewers and how they can participate. This is the one that Jerry Perez was talking about briefly last week.
So they're actually finalizing the plans for us to release and to try and really encourage and hope and invite the public to come out and do. It is going to be an island-wide cleanup. We'll be taking, some of the proposals are to try and get everybody that's involved in tourism to, even do a refresh of their own storefronts, of their parking lots, of their properties. And then on the public side, really making effort to catch up on the lost time and do some beautification in the parks. And so the details, I think that we'll be launching, we'll be announcing some of those details in the next couple of days, and I'll be happy to come on the show to talk to you about them.
Okay, yeah.
But they're coming up with, it's a partnership with Guam Visitors Bureau and the tourism industry, and then with the private sector.
LT, in talking with some of the mayors, it kind of seems like the illegal dumps are popping up again, and I know that we had a pretty deep conversation on the subject when we went cruising, and just kind of wondering, when are we going to kind of get back to that normal posture where we're going to be dealing with things like illegal dumping?
It's gonna. I think we're gonna be. We need to kind of push that back up more sooner than later. In fact, and just in the big picture of trash, even solid waste has to receive some assistance from the government, because all of their commercial hauling business has taken a plunge and it affected their revenue. So, we're used to having thousands of visitors on this island at any given time, generating a lot of that waste, and it's not there. But I see it as, you're right, an opportunity to address what's really happening. The other thing, you remember that recyclables haven't been picked up.
Right,
and around the world, it looks like the recycling market has collapsed. So there's different, different projects that are coming up that we're doing right now along in the zero waste school of thought. There's some projects that we are identifying, some federal funds and some local funds, to try and reduce the waste that's going in. And then of course, talking about, I've been on the thinking that having mandatory universal trash pickup is a thing that we need to move. The only barrier right now is the economic situation that people find themselves having reduced hours or being furloughed. But I think once we get through and are on that great path of recovery, then I think that comes back into the fold. But there's a whole bunch of, I would say there's about 5 zero waste projects that are in the hopper to deal with glass, to deal with a lot of the food waste that's been coming out from restaurants. There's some on paper, and so I can, when I come back and talk to you guys about the cleanup, I'll bring in some details about the waste issue and what some of the strategies coming up from the community, in fact, that we'd like to get into action.
Oh, let's end on a party note here, LT. I know the Democratic Party, you guys have a chair,
election.
Right, yeah. So can we talk about that?
Yeah, absolutely. So what we did is last Saturday was the opportunity that Guam Democrats had to indicate what our preference was. Of course, our party has already selected, well, at least with the Guam votes, now formally has selected Vice President Joe Biden to lead our ticket. And I'm not sure, there's a lot of discussion. Usually, we select delegates to go to a convention, but unlike the other party that for sure is having theirs, I'm not sure if we're really going to have the same kind of convention that you would expect because of the public health situation.
Right.
With thousands of people from all corners of the country coming, it seems like something that needs to be mitigated. But no matter what, we have at least 7 votes to push. 5 of them were pledged to Biden, and 2 were pledged to Sanders, representing 30% of our caucus goers that wanted Sanders, despite him pulling out.
And what do you? Let's just, I guess, go national real quick, LT. What do you make of this? Trump versus Biden.
It's I think the number of battleground states is already 24, and it's amazing to me that Arizona, for example, looks like it's going to be solidly Democrat. But anything can happen. Even though I would just say that President Trump is a very strong president. He has 90% or 92% of the all Republicans are supporting him, which is super high. Yeah. And I just would never underestimate. It's going to be a long election, and I think that it's going to be a close one still.
Oh, man, I wanted to ask you about Pride Month. So
Pride, unfortunately, for us, obviously, we're going to move a lot of we're going to have, hopefully by October, we would already be in a very normal state and we'll be able to have a lot of the events. I know that there's a group that is planning a wave, and they will be pushing details out. And for me, I just say that even with the protests that happened over the weekend, if you're going to be doing these things, you need to wear a mask and you need to socially be distant. I know it's difficult, and it's a big balance between, the rights people have to their freedom to express themselves and to demonstrate versus what our reality is. And I just say, be safe. Although I wanted to participate, I didn't, and part of that is, the governor has asked us not to have events 25 people or more,
right?
And it is difficult because our island is very integrated. People love each other. We love to kiss and hug each other. It's hard for for islanders, but please just be extra careful. I don't think anybody's going to be offended if you don't hug them, but just be careful. But Pride, October, there'll be, hopefully Chris and Serena will be together at a Pride party in October.
And remember, you committed to redo Easter, too, just so you know.
I know, I did. And maybe I'll get a pink bunny suit for you.
Real quickly, can we talk about, the protests on Friday, everything that's happened with George Floyd, and I think there's discussions right now in Washington, D.C., on legislation involving
chokeholds,
police accountability.
Yeah.
And even at the protest last week, there was someone who was holding up a sign, abolish police.
Yeah.
And I wanted to know if you'd like to weigh in on that.
Yeah, I think that, I don't think that abolishing or defunding police is, police are there to provide safety. However, that being said, that doesn't mean that there can't be improvements in how any police misconduct is handled. We have a statute on the books that is a little flawed, that probably needs to, that can probably be looked at just to handle, and that's the Police Review Commission. And the problem with the Police Review Commission is that, you know, you could have a finding on the Police Review Commission after an extensive review, but it's not going to result in anything that is going to be done administratively to them in the Civil Service Commission. That's been, and it's one of the areas that I've had long conversations with former Chief Ishizaki about, you know, what could be done to connect the dots and make sure that there is a process that is very fair, that and very transparent for any issues with regards to police brutality to be made. That being said, I would just say that the vast majority of law enforcement officers really want to do a good job. When you go to swearing in, you know, they are promising to uphold the trust of the people. And I think that with the situation in the States and, you know, the 8 minutes and 48 seconds that everybody saw a man basically whose life was taken, you know, usually in the past when you hear about these things, it's a he said, she said, maybe you have camera footage that is little this and you really can't make it out.
Right.
This one was just so clear, and I think it has resulted in people coming back and knowing that this issue really is the issue of race in the United States, right? There's the big sins they say in the U.S. Number one was the Native Americans and how they were displaced and killed. The second was slavery. The third sin of the U.S. is still unresolved, and that's the situation with all of us living in the colonies. That's what I'd say.
Right on. Yeah, you're right, LT. Usually when some of these cases that we've seen in the past, we get like a little piece of video and then some other video comes out, or people kind of debate about whether or not it was justified. But I think why this has become such a flashpoint incident is because it's obvious we saw the whole thing and it was not justified. So.
No. And, you know, I think the fact that the facial expression of that officer, he was indifferent to that life.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, it's just unacceptable.
Okay, LT, we'll let you go.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, have a great day, you guys, and I'll talk to you soon.
Okay. Right. Wash your hands.
Thanks.
Bye.
Okay. Lieutenant Governor Josh Tenorio, you know, while we're on the subject of the George Floyd and Black Lives Matter, let's catch up with our friend Nola Hicks, who organized the Black Lives Matter protest on Friday. Good morning, Nola.
Good morning, Chris.
Hi.
Good morning, team.
Good morning.
So I guess let's just start on unpacking the protest, peaceful protest. I saw you also had the chief of police show up. What was that like?
Oh man, it was it was great. I'm really just so thankful for the media showing their support, and you know, just having, you know, GPD's chief of police Steve Ignacio there was really nice. But yeah, I mean, it was just all peace and you know, positive vibes. I'm really glad that Guam was able to set an example of what a peaceful demonstration / peaceful protest should look like. You know, that was the main thing. It was like, you know, there were all these worries about, you know, riots and all that other stuff, but really it was a really good turnout. So I appreciate everybody that came out.
Yeah, and I mean, it really looked like it was, I guess you could say, a success. I mean, when we went live down in Agana, and that place was so packed, and we went to Tamuning, also a lot of people, and then of course in Saipan with Tomas Minglonia, who was live there, and even more people. So I guess congratulations.
Thank you. And you know, just to touch a little bit about, you know, a lot of the negatives that came out. You know, there was just, you know, I'm sure you saw it online. There were a lot of people expressing their dissatisfaction with the fact that, you know, Black Lives Matters, all lives matters. Why don't you guys touch base on the local issues that are happening on Guam, the racism against Chukis? You know, I was just blown away at the amount of negativity. You know, just people just spending so much time, you know, being so comfortable behind their phones and their laptops to express, you know, their dissatisfaction. You know, my response to that was, hey, you know, let's take this negative energy and turn it into something positive and lead the way. you're talking about all these issues that are affecting Guam. Well, it's easy to say it, easier said than done. Why don't you lead the way? So that was just my whole response to that. But just so people know, because a lot of people were like, the difference between the Agana protest and our demonstration, because they were like, well, why do people have to register? What's that all about? I wanted it to be very organized in terms of the social distancing and the facial masks, but a part of the registration was mainly to have people sign off on my waiver, because I didn't want to be liable should anything happen. So as they were registering, they were signing off on a waiver, which they were more than comfortable with doing. But that was it. That was just it. I didn't expect anything from that. But the crazy part about it was these people were so fired up that they were calling me and messaging me on social media asking, what's next? They're like, is that it? Like, what are your plans? Like,
no, I got your email. Right? You got their email.
Yeah, I got their email addresses, and they're like, can we keep in touch? Can we call ourselves a group? So, I was just kind of like, I was thrown back. I was like, wow, I didn't expect this type of positive energy. But this group was, they were fired up. They're like, we want to do more stuff. Let us know what it is that you're going to be doing and how we can help. If you need, logistical assistance or support or donations, give us a call. Let's do more good in the community. So that was like the positive thing that came out of it.
Right.
And I was just so blessed and so grateful that, none of the craziness had happened, but it was just extending that dialogue to these ordinary citizens who just came out to stand in solidarity. And now it's like, okay, what's next?
Right. Well, I know there's another action, I think, planned for Friday.
Yeah, there's one tomorrow. I know they're doing another one tomorrow, and then another one on Friday. And I guess the LGBT group is going to be doing stuff. So it's all positive.
Right.
It's a great thing. I'm glad that the awareness is there, and I'm glad that people are fired up to talk about other issues that are affecting Guam,
Right.
and they're ready to do something about it. So that's great.
Nola, this some were saying that, aside from the Finogi March, which I think was a couple thousand, I want to say, that this was probably one of the bigger protests and demonstrations that the island has ever seen. What do you think? Because we do have a large activist community here on Guam, and they have their stances with decolonization, with the buildup, but we haven't seen the numbers that we had show up to show solidarity with Black Lives Matter. So I guess my question to you was, it kind of seems like the people who would show up to show solidarity with Black Lives Matter would also be, I hate to use the term, woke enough to be invested in other issues that we're facing on the island. So I guess my question is, if how do you kind of corral the support that you got for Black Lives Matter, and then maybe migrate these people and see if they're concerned about other issues that we face here in the territories?
It's so great that you bring that up, because I had the same thought when I saw the hundreds of people, showing up on Saipan. And I, Chris, you've seen the stuff that I do on Saipan.
Mm-hmm.
I protest the government all day. I'm very vocal about, corruption. And, and I think that's the biggest problem, which is why, I think this movement is so important, or with, the outcome and the success of this movement is so important, because we want to be able for people to use their voices, to stand up for what they believe in, and that's why, when I was talking to this crowd, I'm like, you can no longer sit comfortably behind your phones and your laptops. If you really want to see the necessary change, you got to get up, you got to get out, you got to stand up. And so, I was looking at it, and I was like, I wish we had this, these large crowds, standing up against corruption, or, standing up against the injustices that are happening within our society. But you know what, Chris? I haven't lost hope. I really feel like this is the start of something great. And based on the positive feedback that I've received from, this 200 and some crowd that came out,
Right.
I'm going to allow them to tell me what it is that they want to do, because if I feel like I can't do it all. At the same time, I'm just very new to Guam. But if these people, are fired up, I don't want to lose that momentum.
Right.
I kind of just want to be like, okay, I'll email the group and be like, what is it that you guys want to do, or what issues do you think are important that we need to raise awareness on, and let's just do it. So I haven't lost hope. I think this is the start of something great. I think you're going to see more activism. And that's exactly what it is that we need. We need more of that.
I think it's interesting, Nola, because you kind of approach this from an organizing standpoint, and anybody who has studied, activism or, different movements, part of it is, believing in what you're standing on the street corner protesting about, but the other part of it is also the organizing, you know what I mean? The reaching out, the getting a big block of people who are ready to go at the snap of a finger. And that's what I kind of think has been, other, again, than the Finogi March, because to me that was kind of like the gold standard of decolonization demonstrations. And, I feel like that's something that we've been missing is we have our people in these different movements, but they just don't have the numbers because we haven't really turned the corner on the organizing of it,
Yeah, you gotta I feel like there's just gotta be a lot of education, and that's just it, right? I don't want people, this is not some gimmick, this is not some trend, we're not jumping on the bandwagon. That is not what this is about. And, there was just all this negativity about us, trying to jump on the bandwagon. Do you really know what Black Lives Matters stands for? And that's just it, right? You got to educate yourself. You really got to know what it is that you're standing for. And on my end, just being this organizer, at the end of the day, I wasn't, I can say I'm not perfect. There were a lot of things that I needed to think of, but the main thing for me was health and safety. I needed to make sure that the people showing up, were not going to be harmed in any way, but at the same time, these were the things that were running through my mind. It's like, is there going to be some
a counter protester? There was
exactly.
I saw something about Paul Zerzan. I don't know if you know who he is, but I heard that he had showed up and was kind of getting in people's faces.
Yeah, so those are the things that I was thinking about at the end of the day. Especially, married to somebody who's in law enforcement. You just never know. You just never know who's going to show up. And
right.
so
I was expecting like the Guam chapter of the Hells Angels to show up to protest the, Black Lives Matter.
Oh man, it was a lot. And I shared these resources with the girls that did the Kapua event. I said, I'm having a registration, because they were like, people were asking about your registration form. And I said, girls, this is why I have a registration.
That's what I'm talking about, Nola, the organizing, right? That's so key. Yeah. If you look at any movement, we can just sit here, complaining to each other all day, but the point is you got to get new bodies, new people.
Totally. And then, collecting those email addresses and just being able to email them and say thank you. And then those that were just responding, like fired up, like ready to move, and like, Miss Nola, are you going to go to this? Well, we'll meet you there. It was really good. It's really good. And I think this group is going to move forward in a positive direction. We kind of have some projects and ideas that we want to do to be able to contribute to the community. And so you'll be hearing from me again soon. So it's going to be great.
I got to ask you, though, about this abolish police thing.
Oh, gosh, I saw that. I saw that. And, I had a side.
That's kind of like, to me, the wacky side of
it was a nice sign, though. It was on the nice banana leaf, but
it was.
But when I saw it, I was like, wait, what?
I know. Yeah. I saw it, and it would be wrong for me to try to discredit her freedom of speech. Actually, we're there, but it was very concerning, especially with Steve Ignacio there, kind of like
awkward.
I was like boss.
Yeah. You're like, Chief, don't go over there. Yeah, don't just stay over here. Look this way.
And and
crazy white girls.
The photo just rotated, and people were so upset. And it's like, you know what? She's exercising her freedom of speech. It is what it is. It did not deter our efforts of getting the message that Black Lives Matters. And the music. We had all this music playing, and people were dancing, and just. It was like, it was, people were like, oh, well, look at them, they're celebrating. And it's like, yeah, we're celebrating Black entertainment. I was like, but at the same time, we're bringing awareness to why we're here. So it was really good.
I saw a clip of you on, I think it was on your, I don't know whose Facebook it was, but you were saying something about, where would the world be without black people? Where would the world be without Kobe? Where would the world be without Beyonce?
Oh, yeah. Barack Obama.
I mean, talk about casting a wide net.
I was fired up. I was kind of like in my element, and it was just kind of like Bob Marley,
Right.
Martin
Yeah.
Luther King.
Who likes Beyonce? Right on.
It was kind of like, what would the world be? You know, here we are as
Who would have built the pyramids?
we're
They
disenfranchised.
should have gone way back, Nola.
The moment was, us being disenfranchised American citizens, not being able to vote. It was me basically telling people in the United States, it's like, hey, this is why you need to get up, get out, and vote, because we're standing with you. We agree with a lot of the things that are going on. If you're not going to vote for yourself, vote for us. So that was the message.
Well, it's good to have you on, man. And good luck. Keep us posted. Right.
Yeah. Most definitely, and you guys have a great week.
Okay, Nola, wash your hands.
All right, take care. Bye.
Okay, bye. 9:05. Again, Nola Hicks organizing the one of the Black Lives Matter protests. Of course, there were, I want to say there were 3 last week.
Right, there was the one in Agania there was one at Moses. That's right. There's one at Moses. There was one at Chief Kapoa.
There was also one Monday. Remember, there was a separate one that was on Monday, and then we had the big one on Friday.
Right. The 3 on Friday, and then the one in Saipan, and then there was one on Sunday. The white coats, the doctors held a peaceful demonstration.
And then there's 2 more this week.
Right, you have the information on those, right?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
So there you go. 9:06. Hey, we're going to take a little break. Again, we're KUAM FM, Agotnia, Guam. The show is proudly brought to you by Cabo Enterprises, Ambrose Inc., Coast 360, IT&E, and the Bank of Guam. Good morning on you. It's 9:06.
It's not always easy trying something new. Sometimes you have to help your loved ones along. Nana is so used to her weekly trips to the bank that going online can be a little scary for her. But her grandson knows that banking online is safer and easier, so he's teaching her how to get started using Bank of Guam's online banking videos. Teaching is one way to show our loved ones we care, keep your family safe at home, and show them how to bank online. Find easy-to-use online banking tutorials at bankofguam.com or on our Instagram and Facebook pages. Bank of Guam, member FDIC.
Keeping you informed, KUAM News brings you Banking 671, brought to you by the Bank of Guam, the People's Bank, and Coast 360 Federal Credit Union. Together, we thrive.
KUAM News COVID-19 Takeover on I-94 FM is presented locally by Ambrose Inc.
GU Self-Storage, conveniently located near the Harmon McDonald's. We offer affordable rates, online payments, and auto bill pay for your convenience. Plus gate access daily from 6 a.m. to 9 p.m. Call us today at 648-7867 for more information.
With the new challenges we're all facing, First Hawaiian Bank wants to make sure you have access to your financial world. With FHB Online and our mobile app, we hope to make banking the least of your worries. Visit fhb.com/digital.
We hope that you and your loved ones are safe and healthy during the COVID-19 pandemic. It has been a challenging time for all, but now, more than ever, our cancer patients and caregivers need us. Although we are apart, we stand united in the fight against cancer. The American Cancer Society Guam is excited to announce our first virtual Relay for Life. Join us on Saturday, June 27th at 6:30 p.m. on KUAM TV8, as well as on I-94 FM and streaming on KUAM News digital platforms. Cancer does not stop, and neither can we. On June 27th, let's celebrate together and fight cancer. Visit relayforlife.org/GuamGU to find out how you can participate in the 2020 virtual Relay for Life Guam.
Be healthy. Be informed with ITD. Be healthy. Be informed with ITD.
Alpha Day. When it comes to applying for unemployment benefits as it relates to the Pandemic Unemployment Assistance and Federal Pandemic Unemployment Compensation programs, the first thing you'll need to do is create an account and register on HireGuam.com. Utilizing this button rather than the Not Registered button at the upper right login box will ease the pool registration process as it was built specifically for the pool program. The first page you'll see is the welcome page that explains the pool program and the 10 scenarios of eligibility that caused unemployment. Read through it entirely, and if any pertain to you, click Next. Input your social security number and then re-enter to confirm. Notice at the top of the page, the eligibility section is completed and the registration process begins. In order to complete your registration process, you will be asked to provide the following: a username and password and select a security question, an email address, or if you don't have one, you will be required to create one with the link provided, your residential and mailing address if different, your preferred notification method to receive benefit notices and updates, any prior military or current military service, education, occupation, your preferred payment method, such as direct deposit or paper check. Now, if you opt for direct deposit, you will need to supply your bank account and routing number. And since these benefits are taxable, whether or not you would like your taxes withheld. When you see the page notifying you to proceed to make your PUA claim, you have completed the registration process and may continue to the work history portion of the claims process. Input your last employer data, job title, and employment information. When the system prompts you to enter your last day worked, make sure you enter the date in which your employment status was directly affected by COVID-19. For example, if you were furloughed on April 1st, 2020, but have since returned to work, you will enter April 1st and not yesterday. Complete the rest of your work history information and add as many past employers as needed. Once completed, you will be required to certify that all information is true and correct, that you are responsible to keep informed of program benefits and reading program material, and that you acknowledge that any false statements are punishable by law and could result in a fine, imprisonment, restitution, and a loss of future benefits. Read through PUA's to-do list and take note of the following. Immediately file your weekly claim. Report all income for the week to include tips, commissions, and gratuities, even if you have not yet been paid. If you return to your normal pre-pandemic work hours or return to work and make over $494, you must stop filing a weekly claim. You must be able and available for work. If you are offered your job back and refuse for a non-COVID related reason, you are no longer eligible to receive PUA benefits. And at PCOR 3, you must look for work by contacting at least...
Hey, good morning, 914. It's containing COVID. A little bit of Marianas Collective, that's Freddie Bardazzu, Joe Hernandez, Gene Castro. Good little live local Friday session. I think this is a cover. And you know, talking about live local Fridays, we're doing another great stay home live local Fridays this Friday. This is going to be awesome. We're going to have so many talented local artists for you guys. That just means we don't know who's going on yet. Because I'm looking at Bree like, girl, bail me out here. Give me a name.
Joan is the one who's producing that show, so she tells us, okay, you need to go.
I think Andy Wheeler is going to do some juggling. We just turned it into a variety show.
No, we have a lot of talented musicians.
No, there's so many. And really, I mean, it's gone beyond just local artists. We've even had artists who aren't local, but who have some kind of connection or love for not just our island, but our people. And so I thank those artists as well for coming out and doing a Stay Home Live Local Fridays. Hey, before we get into the news here, wanted to talk a little bit about this hiring over at Department of Labor. And this is something that we kind of talked about yesterday, too. They hired a bunch of people to kind of run this FPUC and the PUA program. There was a comment in here, Bree, when Dave was explaining, Dave De La Sola of Labor was explaining the process. I'm using the term process very loosely. The process of hiring these people to assist with the poo and the F-puck. Somebody put smells like pooa. There's definitely some F-pucking going. Yeah, and so basically what Dave had said, this was kind of a weird one. I mean, I was on my second cup of coffee, so I don't know if it got by me. I want to go back and watch the recording.
Mm-hmm.
But he basically said that, well, first of all, he handpicked the program manager.
Right.
One, Kathleen Pareto, who obviously Dave feels has all the experience to stand up and run $1 billion unemployment program. And I want to say, I think she was a program coordinator with labor. I know that she had been over at the courts as an ASO. But, I mean, let's just be real, though. It's not even that they're qualified. It's that they just know the director. I mean, that's not, you know, it is what it is, to quote a phrase. But then David said that they hired the other people based off their transition applications.
Right. And HAC?
And okay, the American Job Center, right? So what he meant, I guess, by the transition applications is when they, Lou and Josh won the election and they were in that transition period, of course everyone in the media was like, how are you going to hire people? Who are you going to hire? And they said, oh, we're going to do it the traditional way. We're going to make people fill out applications, and then we're going to stick those applications in a filing cabinet somewhere and hire who we really want to hire.
Mm-hmm.
But, you know, good thing they hung on to those applications. Were you one of those people who filled out an application? Let us know in the comments, because I actually know one guy, and I feel bad for him because, and I don't want to name the agency, this one guy who filled out an application, and they ended up appointing some political crony to the director position, and this guy had, like, met all the qualifications laid out in the law. And he, and talking to him, he was like, yeah, I just kept calling Adelup, following up on my application. Like, when did you get it? After about 6 months of follow-up. So, Lieutenant Governor Josh had said that there are all these transition applications in a filing cabinet somewhere. And so what Dave Della Sola said he did was go through this stack of applications, and I don't know what method they used. Was it just like, give me the first 20 on the top? Or did they go through and be like, okay, this is that director's kid, let's get them, and this is the niece of, you know, one of the people who set up canopies for us in the campaign, let's go hire them. Yeah, I mean, I don't know, it just seems kind of fishy to me. Because we had brought up the point, hey, it's kind of ironic that we're hiring people to administer this program for people who have lost their jobs. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? And, you know, we brought up the point, very legitimate point. I thought, Sabrina, good on you. What about all these people out here who are trying to get these unemployment benefits? You don't think, like, they should have known that you guys needed 30 people? And again, I mean, I appreciate that the Lieutenant Governor and Dave, you know, called in and gave their answers to the questions, because, you know, we as the media, what more could you ask for? We're going to ask you, and you're going to answer. Okay, so what now? They told us that's how they hired the people, is they looked at the transition applications, and I guess it's on you guys whether or not you buy it.
Right.
So I'd like to know if there's anybody out there who filled out a transition app. And, you know, and again, Bree, I mean, it's June 2020. We're talking about applications that were from January 2019, at least. I mean, you know.
And just to go over,
I mean, are these things like, did the cockroach eat it or what? What the hell?
And this is what, 18-month job, right?
Right, yeah.
And according to the documents that were submitted to USDOL for, you know, the additional funding for these employment contracts, we're looking at and this is with benefits, right. $163,000,
yeah.
$150,000, right. $88,000.
And what did Dave say?
$78,000.
David said that, oh, it's so inflated because it's an 18-month term, so I'm assuming what they mean by that is if you're making $61,000 as a program manager or whatever the title is, then for this program, you would actually, it's an 18-month thing, so you would take the $61,000 and then divide that by half and add $30,000 or whatever onto it, so they're actually making like $90,000. But I don't know, we got to sort it out, because he had said that there was overtime and all kinds of stuff budgeted into these positions, and so that's why it seemed like the salaries were inflated.
But this is what was provided to USDOL.
Right.
You know, when you add the salary plus the benefits, and that's what it came out to. So
Yeah. And so I actually have a FOIA out. You know, it's funny. I
for
FOIA'd
an 18-month position.
I have FOIA'd the Department of Administration about any and all hiring. Actually FOIA'd them on May 22nd, and I never got a response. And I actually just sent the same request, but amended it to be more current to include this date. So, you know, I mean, I don't know. I didn't even get a acknowledgement. I don't know if maybe because the open government law suspended, people at DOA feel like they don't have to answer FOIAs anymore. But we're trying to get you guys that information and any other hiring information, because I think that those documents will show how much people are making, when they were hired, and all that stuff. And I think it's important for you guys to know. That way we can kind of vet what the Lieutenant Governor said and what Dave De La Sola had said with what the black and white documents actually show.
But you also heard it from Dave that they are still hiring.
Yeah, they're still hiring, by the way.
Visit the AJC.
Or if you filled out a transition application, you know, a year and a half ago.
Follow up
on that. Hey, where's my application? So yeah, that was kind of, I thought, one of the big developments of the show this morning was the labor director and the lieutenant governor, and Lieutenant Governor Josh said, no, I stand by it. It's going to hold up. All right. So that being said, let's go switch gears now and take a dive into the day's COVID-19 headlines with the very latest from the KUAM News team. Good morning, Sabrina Salas-Matanani.
Hafa, good morning, everyone. Starting with the latest cases of COVID-19 on Guam, the count remains at 179, 5 deaths, 163 recoveries, and 11 active cases. A total of 65 samples were ran through Public Health's lab on Monday, 0 returning positive. In the meantime, free community testing gets underway today in Arahan at Public Health's Southern Regional Community Health Center up until 12 noon. You don't have to have symptoms to get tested, just bring an ID. Tomorrow, free testing will be held at the Mongmong Church from 9 a.m. to 12 p.m. Again, you don't have to have symptoms, just get tested. Emergency food distribution resumed today. Boxes of food are being distributed at Mount Lamlam and Agate Pneumatic and at the Dededo Farmers Market. Both sites are distributing food up until 10 a.m. Then on Thursday, emergency food distribution will be held at the Tidzin Upper Baseball Field and in Jotnya at the St. Francis Church, again from 6 o'clock in the morning to 10 o'clock in the morning. Just a reminder that the deadline to apply for the Programan Salapi Idzudani Tautau Disaster Relief Program is this Friday. Those who submit their applications by the deadline will have until June 30th to submit all the additional required documents. To date, a total of 17,040 checks have been processed and released, totaling $12.8 million. Go to Public Health's website, that's dphss.guam.gov, to apply. For more information on the status of the checks, you can call the Department of Administration. The numbers are 475-1101, 475-1250, or 475-1221. Passengers arriving from COVID-19 hotspots will be required to quarantine at government facilities. Physicians Advisory Council member Dr. Felix Cabrera provided further clarification ahead of the anticipated restart of flight services from the Philippines this weekend. Our Nestor Lecanto reports.
Dr. Cabrera says the goal is to be able to safely bring home Guam residents and accommodate essential travelers without introducing more virus cases to the island. This includes the estimated 1,600 people who are expected to return home from Manila when Philippines Airlines resumes service on Saturday. But the Philippines is still a hotspot, says Cabrera, because the COVID spread there remains above the desired threshold of a less than 30-day doubling rate. That means all arrivals, resident or non-resident, will have to quarantine for 14 days at a government facility. But despite that, they won't be required to be tested before boarding. Cabrera says it's too dynamic, and there are no assurances that the results are valid when they arrive.
The only thing that's a sure safety net, so to speak, and what has proven to work is quarantine itself. So as you can see in this situation, there is no option to quarantine, to test out of quarantine completely.
Residents arriving from non-hotspot countries will have an option to quarantine at home. Non-residents who travel here for important family matters or to provide essential services will be allowed to quarantine at a residence or lodging facility, provided they clear a valid COVID test within a week of arrival. They will also be subject to monitoring by public health.
Yes, they would have to be at their quarantine at their hotel if they're staying at a hotel, but then they will be allowed to go to their place of work or place of business that they need to conduct their essential work and then return back. And then that check-in will occur with from public health in that manner.
Dr. Cabrera is confident GovGuam does have the adequate quarantine capacity to handle the influx. Meanwhile, the governor has set July 1st as the target date for reopening the visitor industry. Cabrera says preventative measures for tourist travel are still under consideration and details will be announced at a later time. As of now, key markets such as Japan, Korea, and Taiwan are not hotspot countries. For Guam's News Network, I'm Nestor Lecanto.
Senator Pito Terlahi is continuing his fight to give GovGuam employees and retirees a choice when it comes to health insurance. Here's the highlights from Monday's round of session.
Friday night fights at the Guam legislature after multiple amendments to Bill 255. Senator Pito Terlahi appeared to have thrown in the towel.
I am tired of the so many amendments. I am tired. This interaction is turning into a circus already.
Vowing a comeback, that's exactly what he did on session floor this afternoon. The Democrat lawmakers stepped back into the ring, ready to fight for Bill 363, another measure to once again give choice.
And this is the same bill with the one that was withdrawn?
But Bill 363 didn't stand a chance as Senator Therese Terlahi delivered the TKO.
Because the bill is not identical to the bill that had a public hearing. And this statute specifically requires that it be identical to the bill that had a public hearing.
Senator Pito Terlahi bowed out with Bill 363, but came back with another punch with Bill 366. While Senator Therese Terlahi responded with another jab, she was out for the count.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Motion carries.
Senators have been debating the issue on whether to give choice back to GovGuam employees and retirees for more than a week. But even prior to session, retirees and GovGuam employees have been asking for choice. The Mayor's Council of Guam months ago passed a resolution urging the legislature to restore their right to select from multiple health insurance carriers. And just this morning on our interactive radio show on I-94 FM, retiree, former member of the Government of Guam Health Insurance Negotiations team, Joseph Cameron, stepped into the ring after sitting on the sidelines watching session.
The people of Guam are really concerned as a general. I mean, just because you're a GovGuam employee doesn't mean you're a GovGuam employee. Come on, you got kids who work in private sector, for God's sakes, and they're affected as well. So you know what? I think we got to go back to basics. Give the choice issue back. Give it back. Come on. There's no exclusivity provider that we're looking for. We're not looking for anything other than what is rightfully our choice. It's a moral issue to me to be able to make such a decision on behalf of my family, and everybody else that's couching on this.
Once Bill 366 was added on to session agenda, senators did not immediately go toe-to-toe on the bill, instead moving on with the rest of their agenda.
Terlahi argues the choice bill does not specify where $11 million will come from to fund Senator Pito Terlahi's legislation. The Guam Police Department's Criminal Investigation Section is investigating a stabbing that occurred at Hemlani's commercial apartments in Tamuning Sunday at 7 p.m. Earlier that afternoon, the victim was with a group of men by the New Plaza Market. There was an altercation between the victim and one of the individuals, resulting in the victim being stabbed in his back. He proceeded home and his wife notified police, transported her to GMH, where he is listed in stable condition. In your Banking 671 report, the Guam Bankers Association is encouraging residents who plan to file for pandemic unemployment assistance to consider opting for direct deposit. To opt in, you're urged to take the following steps. Open a deposit account with your preferred bank. collect necessary account information, be prepared to provide your account number and your bank's routing number, and then visit Guam DOL's online portal, HireGuam.com. And that is your Banking 671 report, brought to you by the Bank of Guam and Coast 360. Sorry about that. I lost my place. I was trying to look at the Facebook, and then I lost my
I was
place.
going to say, you probably want to tell people the right steps to go in when they open a bank account.
Yeah.
Don't sign it before you fill out the stuff up top.
I lost my place when I was reading.
Make sure you know what your APR is.
And you're like looking all over the place.
Your what?
Make sure you know what the annual percentage rate is before you sign off on it. But no, hey, you know what? These times, it's a great time to get a loan, though. Interest rates are really low. Very favorable.
Right on. Hey, Jason gets $1 every time you guys get a loan. Grad and Go, man. We got a few Grad and Goes. We let you guys know which ones are happening this week with Jason. We spoke to the Lieutenant Governor earlier. That was a pretty cool idea. I'm kind of like wishing we had thought of it first, but to get the valedictorians and the salutatorians to do little video messages, that's something I'm excited to watch.
Right. Well, I mean, we can actually just request for the videos anyway. I mean,
Right,
we're paying
yeah.
for it, so
We
why not?
are.
Hello.
And these are like highly produced,
Yeah.
freaking, they got the, what do you call that thing in the camera that's on the jib maybe? Or anyway.
The
right.
camera on the...
That's a movie making stuff right there. I mean, yeah, we're way beyond selfie sticks now. Okay, so as far as the Grad and Goes go, right? Last Thursday we had the very first. So Ukadu High School, right? The second newest high school on Guam, second newest public high school, has the dubious distinction of being the very first Grad and Go school. So congrats to the Bulldogs. They were the first. A couple days later, JFK had theirs. JFK always has a big graduating class. So go green and gold. They had that. And then yesterday, did you guys see how big Southern High's graduating class was? Yesterday? I mean, first of all, you got to love the school colors. And Adriana put like in her web article, the teal is for real. And I mean, they look great in their cap and gowns.
Wow, the teal is for real, and that's the deal.
Thank you. You added. Yeah. Are you going to copyright that?
No, that's good. We're good.
Put that on SoundCloud and get paid for that. But 307 students was their graduating class.
Wow.
That's pretty good. And then I know today at 8:30. GDOE was actually streaming my alma mater's graduation, so congratulations to the Sharks. And then Thursday is Teton High, so the Titans will graduate. Friday is JP Torres Success Academy, and then Saturday is your alma mater, Mr. Burnett.
Can you guys hear that?
Through the mask.
The geckos. Right, and so we're doing all these grads, Jay, but let's not forget that we're also promoting all the graduates on the stations at KUAM, too.
Oh, yeah. And we have had a lot of FD people like on the Head of the Class special, which airs Monday, Wednesday, Friday. You can watch it during the news. It's fantastic. There's a lot of FD guys. I mean, FD's always got like big classes anyway, but I mean, there's a lot of people with, and they all look great in their cap and gowns, right? The FD guys. But let's get all the schools, but make sure to tune in, because we are going to feature every single one of the ones that we got, and it is a fantastic segment. People are loving it.
Yeah, all schools.
Yeah. And what do you guys think of the Grad and Go ceremonies like so far, as far as like the way they're produced and everything like that? Really, really nice job.
Right. Are we paying for that?
Like with public funds and
yeah.
I mean, like.
Probably.
Yeah, I mean, at some level, probably. But my mom,
they are really nice.
My mom, as an educator, was kind of worried, and she goes, it really just concerns me that as a teacher, we're not giving these students that the graduation experience that they have earned, that that they can have with their families, with their classmates, with the faculty, and everything like that. Well, I was like, you know what? But the kids look happy as clams, because for them and their generation, they've got something that lives on Facebook, on YouTube, on TikTok, and I mean, this is their thing, and they look like they're having the time of their lives.
That's why we kind of stepped it up on our end to do this head of the class thing, is because we know that COVID-19 has thrown a massive curveball right at our graduates, and not just here. I mean, and it doesn't make it okay that it's all over the world, but any way we can kind of like bookmark this momentous occasion for not just for the grads, but for their families. Like, I mean, that's such a huge part of the graduation process, is the party, the family gathering. And so that's why we kind of have done this thing with Head of the Class, where And you go on the comments and you read them on any of our social media networks. It's crazy. I mean, people, this is the new graduation party.
And when you guys get off of work and, like on the days when Ukadu and then JFK graduated, did you guys see like the cars that were driving around? They're all decked out. They've got like the big puffy balloons on them. They got the streamers. They've already taken. When you guys graduated from high school, did you guys take your tassel and hang it from your rearview mirror?
Gosh, that's so long ago.
I did that for 3 years when I was at UOG. I still had the silver and black. And it's like class of 92. It was already like 1995 by that point. And everybody was like, God.
I got to shout out my young guns, man, because we had our own little grad. It was a promotional for pre-K and kindergarten up at DL Perez.
Oh, yeah.
On Saturday. And so I was actually part of the caravan, 2-car caravan with my girl Callie Jo and my son Chase.
Congratulations.
And so that was really cool. Parents were just so into it. I mean, you think you're into the high school grad. I mean, I don't know when we started doing grads for pre-K and K, and I was always a kind of a hater on it, and you hate on it until you're part of it. I was like, these kids nowadays, oh God, they need a trophy for every time they graduate. They got to get recognized every grade. But I mean, it's like kind of like the carrot in front of the horse thing. The kids, they look forward to. I mean, and my kids weren't even looking forward to like the ceremony. They just wanted to go back to school, see their teacher, maybe see some of their classmates. And the way they did it was really cool. And I got a shout out to all the schools because, there wasn't just one at DLP and Maria Yajoa. All the elementary schools have had them. And how ours worked was we kind of all drove in, got down. They gave them the diplomas, and then there was like a photo backdrop where they could take a picture. And then you drive up, and that was kind of going smooth. Then you drove up to another spot where you would get down, and then they would coordinate it so that whichever students had received their diploma on this side, the teacher of those students would be there to take a photo with the kids. And they had like a whole backdrop. So, man, there was a lot of thought and effort and good execution that went into it. And I just want to recognize all the Guam Department of Education employees, as well as the parents and everything for pulling this off, because it was a huge COVID curveball and we didn't know how to deal with it. And I think that we're all just really making the most of it.
And if I may, I'd like to give a special shout out of my own to entire GDOE from the administration all the way down. Fantastic job. I've watched all the live streams. I mean, if they don't give you chicken skin, there's something wrong with you, because these are really emotional, in positive ways. But special shout out especially goes out to the 1-to-1 school aides and the parapros, because those people, those men and women, they have a really special connection with all of the students, and they're like, they've put in the videos that they've made. They've taken the time to do that because they all say, they're like, we treat these kids as if they're our own, and we never really got the chance to say goodbye. And as adults, we get what it means when you have a very special class of kids come through, and they have their own personality, their own vibe. A lot of them are very, very they're upbeat and they're very successful. And for us as as student aides or something like that, we never got to say, hey, have a good summer, good luck in your next school year and everything like that. So for them, it's a chance for for them to say, to give them their well wishes too. So the school aides are thrilled at this stuff.
Of course. I mean, these are people.
It means so much to them.
They, in some cases, they might spend more time with your kid than you do.
Yeah.
I want to give a shout out to the parents.
Yeah.
We're kind of like homeschool teachers.
Here we go.
During this time and helping their their children's teachers.
Speaking of empathy,
I learned how to do Class Dojo, and
I just sent you a pic of my kids with their diplomas in case you want to.
So
Jay,
yeah.
if you want to put up my pic of my kids with their diplomas, just so I could proud dad over here.
It's interesting. My son, I realized after seeing all of the graduations and the promotional ceremonies, my son's going into the 6th grade. Isn't that middle school?
Yeah, it is.
Yeah,
it's like the bottom of middle school. Before middle school was 7th and 8th grade.
Okay,
right?
on Guam they've never called it junior high, right? That's like that's a state thing.
No, 6th grade is middle school now, but I remember when I was going to middle school, it was like 7, 8.
7, 8, 9, yeah. 10, 11, 12.
Yeah. Whenever anybody said, "Oh, are you junior high?" I was like, I don't even know what you're talking about now.
Yeah.
But yeah.
And then going back to what Bree had said about the parents, right? So you're a Catholic school parent.
Yeah.
And my oldest son goes over to FD, and dude, these guys, like, they never stop getting. It was almost like he was getting more homework in the COVID than he got like before the COVID. And then we had heard so many complaints. Sorry, Bria, I'm not trying to make light of your situation.
I wasn't. What?
And now you're not complaining. But with the Catholic schools, like, someone had told me there's a difference between teaching and assigning. And so what I guess is happening is the teachers are assigning all this stuff that the parents have to basically execute on and you know, do the work with the kids, which is, no one's saying, you know, you shouldn't have to do anything with your kids, but it reached a level where Sabrina was, you know, typing up the news on one hand and then working on her boys project with the other. Because, I mean, I feel like you can be a teacher now.
No.
Like, you're qualified. There's ever a shortage, we might lose you.
And you know, and the stuff that kids are doing these days, I mean, you know, you said your son was putting together a PowerPoint presentation. I didn't learn PowerPoint till I was 2 years out of college.
I just learned PowerPoint when my son had to do
I still don't know PowerPoint.
I mean,
I was like, Jason, can you help me with this PowerPoint?
I mean, there are literally
Yeah.
kids in the 7th grade right now that know how to write code better than I do, and I've been doing this for 25 years.
Wow.
Right.
I mean, they're doing some advanced stuff, and I think we may have the comment. It's up on your screen now, Kurt. The comment of the day from Elizabeth Gumatautal.
Class of 2020 are our biggest heroes.
That's beautiful.
Congrats to all graduates. Did you show my picture or what?
Yeah, I need a phone.
Okay.
My phone's back.
That's fine.
Here, just take this one.
Okay, yeah. Can you say? Okay, if you airdrop that to me, I'll put that
Yeah,
up.
we'll just, it's next time. It's good. The
Nice.
moment passed.
Yeah, and speaking of school, we're still waiting for our GDOE to make their final announcements on the status of school for next school year. For me, I kind of know that my son might be starting school in July. In July,
Right, yeah.
going to school for about 11 months, and still waiting for the final details on
Right.
how that's all going to work out. But I think it's going to be more distance learning.
Right. Or some kind of hybrid.
Right.
So, and I mean, I know that we had John Fernandez on. We get him on every week, and he was basically saying that this is like the big conversation that they're having, right, is how to start school again.
Right.
And, I mean, we've heard all kinds of ideas, and this is just the discussion. They were talking about split scheduling, right? Maybe you have some group of kids going to school later in the day, some going earlier in the day. But, you know, what I thought was interesting was he was saying that a lot of these discussions, when they go from discussion to decision, a big part of the decision-making process is considering what the parents got to do, because parents are working, childcare, obviously there's no daycare. And so I think it's really thoughtful of them to kind of consider, you know what I mean?
And also, if parents are, are they, willing to let their child, go back into the classroom? Are they comfortable with it? Me, I'm not sure.
I was going to ask about that. As parents, I always ask the two of you guys as parents, and Chris, you've had kids at like every single educational level right now, right? Like what? Your eldest daughter, she's what? No, I mean, she's what? She's postdoctorate now.
Yeah,
right?
Jay, I got a lot of kids.
Yeah. No, but
everybody, I got 5 kids, everybody.
And you're an amazing father, and I mean
no,
that
you're
sincerely.
right. I got a girl in college, I got a boy in high school.
Yeah.
The younger 3 are in elementary.
And so, but as parents, are you guys in any way even a little bit apprehensive of just them going back to full classes?
Yeah,
of course, totally, all the way. I don't want them to go back to school. I mean, part of it is because I get to spend more time with them, but also there's just so many factors that are beyond your control. Right? I mean, sending your kids off to school, it's not even a trust thing. I mean, I trust everyone that, works especially my younger kids at their school. I mean, I know them all. How many parents that you guys should be involved at a level where you should be on a first name basis with a lot of the people who work at your kids' school. I mean, I know I'm fortunate to have flexibility with a lot of my time to do that, but it's not a trust issue. I'm confident that the employees and the staff at GDOE, I mean, that's their number one thing is, for the most part, the safety of the kids. And so I trust them to execute it. But again, there's just so many unknown factors. I mean, they could be doing social distancing, doing all kinds of things. It just takes that one knucklehead kid to go like rub their eye and stick it in your kid's mouth, or, I mean,
kids do what kids do. Two kids share a drink, or
they bite each other in school. I mean, they're little kids, dude. Sorry.
No, I'm not. I've been like that with my son. He's
Yeah.
outside playing in the neighborhood, and then there was a kid. He was outside with his iPad, and the kid was sitting. I saw it. He came and sat right next to him, and I just happened to pull up, and I yelled because he's quite a distance at the other house, and I was like, "Brock, get over here!
Get away from that kid!"
I'm sure those weren't your exact words because I've heard you yell, so I'm sure there were.
No, those were my exact
Okay.
words. Brock, get over here. And he was like, "Hey, Mom," I was like, "What are you doing? You're not supposed to be sitting. You're supposed to be 6 feet away. You're not supposed to be sitting really close to somebody." And he's like, "I tried to tell him, Mom," and I go, "I don't care." And he's like, "Mom, I don't want to talk to you anymore."
My mom said you got to scoot over.
Chris, how have your kids reacted to the lockdown period and then the online learning, and now
My kids
the
are-
specter of maybe not for the school year coming up?
I mean, my kids, they take it serious. Like, they still take the COVID so serious.
Good.
Like, there was
And that's a testament to you.
Yeah, well, I mean, they're all their family. But in the grad and go ceremony, the part where I told you they get down and they get the diploma, they go over to this backdrop, and that's where the parents take the picture of the kids. And so one of the school aides was telling the kids is like, when you go in the backdrop, because it's away from everybody, you can remove your mask for the picture. And so when it came to my kids' turn, like, they didn't want to remove their mask. My boy Chase is like, "No, I don't want to get sick." So they take it serious. Like, they haven't even got down at the store with me for the whole COVID.
Wow.
And like, if I have something to do, like buy groceries, I'll make sure that they either stay with their mom or my oldest boy watches them, and then I get down in the grocery store. So yeah, the most public we've been is we've gone to a beach, which isn't even a public beach. It's kind of like we go to the public beach and then we walk around past everybody and get way down to our own spot. So I'm very fortunate, and I think if my young guns are taking it serious the way they are, then I can only imagine other kids are also taking it serious.
Well, my son is not as
And now for the contrarian
disciplined
viewpoint.
as your child. I talk to him about why you have to wear a mask, and he just, I don't want to say doesn't care. He just wants to go out and play outside.
You
play
mean he's being a
basketball.
kid? He's being a
Yeah,
kid.
plays
Right.
volleyball, and it's kind of hard for him to do all that with the mask. And I mean, I've gotten cool-looking masks. I've gotten the
She
kind
got
that
the
you wear
skull
over your
mask.
head.
She got the
I tried to make it be
Ben
cool
10
for
mask.
him, and he's just like, "I'm not having it." I'm like, "Baby, but you don't want me to get sick."
You get him a nice like pink mask with a lot of flowers, and be like, "You're gonna wear this one until you learn to wear
I
a
mean,
mask."
I've got the mask with the Guam on it, and the half a day, the camouflage, and it's not working. I had the conversation. I don't know what else to do. If anybody
me
has
know.
some advice, please post it. Cause
Yeah, this was not in the parenting Bible, right? And what would I know about that? But you have these conversations like, what do you do if someone that you don't know approaches you? There's the birds and the bees conversation. There's mommy, I'm scared to go to school by myself. But then no one thought that you were going to have some sort of conversation with your kids.
I'd rather talk about the birds and the bees. The COVID, it's so heavy. I mean, life and death.
And I've tried different techniques. I've been the nice mom having a conversation with her son. Then I've had the, "Hey, I told you to wear a mask."
Do you want to die?
Well, you know what? Okay.
I just went to straight. Do you want to die?
On that note,
I've done that too.
Do you want Daddy to die?
Yeah.
Okay, then put on the damn mask.
Okay, hey, that's Chamorro parenting right there, bro. Tough love. That's tough. And you get the point across. That's
You
tough
know,
love.
if I die, we're not gonna get Chinchuli because there can only be 24 people at the funeral.
Okay, that is from the parenting guide.
I haven't gone that far.
Under
You haven't
the
seen it.
chapter of Chamorro guilt trip, that always works.
I'm telling you, I was raised by people with black belts in the Chamorro guilt trip, so I picked up some things.
5th degree.
Right. 9:49. Hey, we're gonna end this show on a good note. If it's the last thing that we do, and it will actually be the last thing that we do, and we'll keep on this theme of education and graduations with our good note. In the meantime, we'll take a short break at 9:49. It's the KUAM News Takeover, Guam's favorite, containing COVID.
Locally
Keeping you informed, KUAM News brings you Banking 671, brought to you by the Bank of Guam, the People's Bank, and Coast 360 Federal Credit Union. Together, we thrive.
KUAM News COVID-19 Takeover on I-94 FM is presented locally by Ambrose Inc.
GU Self-Storage, conveniently located near the Harmon McDonald's. We offer affordable rates, online payments, and auto bill pay for your convenience. Plus gate access daily from 6 a.m. to 9 p.m. Call us today at 648-7867 for more information.
With the new challenges we're all facing, First Hawaiian Bank wants to make sure you have access to your financial world. With FHB Online and our mobile app, we hope to make banking the least of your worries. Visit fhb.com/digital.
We hope that you and your loved ones are safe and healthy during the COVID-19 pandemic. It has been a challenging time for all, but now, more than ever, our cancer patients and caregivers need us. Although we are apart, we stand united in the fight against cancer. The American Cancer Society Guam is excited to announce our first virtual Relay for Life. Join us on Saturday, June 27th at 6:30 p.m. on KUAM TV 8, as well as on I-94 FM and streaming on KUAM News digital platforms. Cancer does not stop, and neither can we. On June 27th, let's celebrate together and fight cancer. Visit relayforlife.org/GuamGU to find out how you can participate in the 2020 virtual Relay for Life Guam.
It's not always easy trying something new. Sometimes you have to help your loved ones along. Nana is so used to her weekly trips to the bank that going online can be a little scary for her. But her grandson knows that banking online is safer and easier. So he's teaching her how to get started using Bank of Guam's online banking videos. Teaching is one way to show our loved ones we care. Keep your family safe at home and show them how to bank online. Find easy-to-use online banking tutorials at bankofguam.com or on our Instagram and Facebook pages. Bank of Guam, member FDIC.
Containing COVID here. We had a special message, Bree, from the National Guard, and the message, and we'll just, tease a little bit here. As many stateside National Guards transition from COVID-19 response to civil disturbance support, some in Guam may be wondering the Guam National Guard's role and what it may be in the upcoming days or weeks. And so this message is from the Adjutant General to the Guard community, which of course includes the people of Guam. It's a message of unity and support. And so we'll go ahead and play this again. Adjutant General Esther Agagi.
Hafide soldiers, airmen, and families, and members of the Guam National Guard. I'd like to address the trying times we're all facing, including the stressors of the COVID-19 pandemic, and more recently, the tragic death of George Floyd. We are all feeling a range of emotions during these times, from anxiety to uncertainty to confusion, even anger. And although we cannot reverse the spread of this deadly virus, nor can we erase the legacies of hate and racism, there are things that we can do. In fact, there are things that we must do. In the words of General Joseph Lingell, Chief of the National Guard Bureau, we cannot tolerate racism, discrimination, or casual violence. We cannot stand by and watch. We can listen, we can learn, and we can be better. We must be better. Join me. So I ask all of you to also join me. Join me as a resident of Guam, where we always pull together during tough times. Join me as a member of the Guam National Guard, who always stands ready to protect our people. We are trained and prepared to live up to this oath that we have sworn. And finally, join me as a loved one to my family. Our parents, children, siblings, and neighbors are counting on us. Whatever comes our way, I am confident we are ready to face these challenging times together. We have proven time and time again, whether on multiple deployments or during typhoons or pandemic responses, that we will answer the call, whenever and however it comes. Masaya Ngayon, Zamano. And I will be right there with you every step along the way. Stay safe, soldiers, airmen, and families. You are all in my prayers as usual. Thank you, God bless you, and Suzuus Maasi for your service.
Again, that message obviously from Adjutant General Esther Agagi. Good morning. It's Containing COVID at 9:57. The show proudly brought to you by Cabo Enterprises, Ambrose Inc., IT&E, Coast 360, and the Bank of Guam. And as always, around this time, we end the show on a good note. And we want to bring on the mayor of PD, Mayor Jesse Allig. Good morning, Mayor.
Hi. Good morning, Chris. Good morning, Bree.
Good morning.
We're going to pop up these pictures. We thought this was a really cool thing. We've seen it kind of in a few of the other villages where we just talked about this. The graduations, we're doing what we can with the grad and go. But what I thought was really heartwarming, Mayor, is you're seeing so many the different groups, whether it's the media or, families or mayors, doing what they can to kind of honor and support and celebrate the island's grads. So just take us to the beginning, and we'll throw up all the pictures and talk about how this idea went from an idea to a full, grown appreciation of the grads.
Yeah, well, they most of these graduates, or all of them, really didn't go to the traditional graduation ceremony and their prom and what have you. And I remember it, vividly, and I enjoyed that. That was probably the best time of my senior year. Well, one of the best times of my senior year. And so we wanted to, to like Bree said, celebrate that in our own way. And because we're a close-knit community in PD, we, the council and I, wanted to, visit these graduates as best as we can, because not everyone was available and not everyone was able to reach out to us in time. But because we were able to get 22 to respond, we honored them and celebrated them with a yard sign that they can post proudly at their yard, and gave them a goodie bag with some gift certificates to some of our local stores, and a good certificate from all of us. And it was great to kind of see them after a long time. We normally have community activities, so we haven't really seen each other, but it was good to go around with the council and say hi. We got comments about no masks, but we all were wearing masks. We just took off our masks for the photos. But all in all, it was good to celebrate them and to honor them for their achievement.
Were they kind of humbled, maybe surprised by this outpouring of support, Mayor?
Yeah, both the parents and the graduates were surprised. Well, not really surprised, but they were excited. They were very grateful. And I'm happy that they're happy, because, we want them to know that we recognize their accomplishments and all the hard work that they've done throughout the years.
What did you provide them with? It looks like I see a bag and a certificate.
Oh, yeah. So in the bag, there's gift certificates to Hapahuli, because Hapahuli's from PD, Viva PD, and Mighty Purple, Infusion, and some other snack. Oh, a PD Pride T-shirt for sure, and one of those not water, but a flask. Correct.
Nice, good.
So yeah, it was great. And also because a lot of focus is on the problems that we have today, and we hope that with this encouragement, with this acknowledgement, hopefully, these seniors and the other graduates will learn to take the challenges of today and really create their new normal, like I mentioned, because it really is all about them and how they deal with what's going on now and how they create their future.
Well, Mayor, that's why we wanted to bring you on because, as always, we feel you're a great example of selfless sacrifice. And, and the appreciation that you threw out for these grads along with the MPC and everyone that helped put the gifts together. We just want to recognize you guys as our COVID heroes for the day.
Viva!
Viva! Class of 2020! Viva! Come on, guys. Where's your Viva?
Viva!
It's an election year, guys.
Oh.
Okay, well.
On that note.
Sorry, Mayor. I know he didn't mean to hang up on us.
He got excited.
Maybe he was doing his Biba and his. So yeah,
Disconnected.
again, Mayor Jesse, thank you so much from PD. Jason, good job today. And also Jacob Sablan, our one of our new digital dudes behind the laptop there. So thank you guys. Most especially thank you guys for supporting us. We didn't know what kind of feedback we're going to get when we threw the show together at the height of the COVID. But again, like we said yesterday, it's been so nice to have you guys sticking with us through all of this. Sabrina, good job today.
Good job.
That's it. Okay.
Yep. Done.
Let me find a song to play.
Okay.
I'm just going to end with one of my favorites, as always, from Annette Nogep-Pago. It's one of your favorites, too.
Which one?
Yeah, Senguaizaho.
No.
Yeah, all right. Good, feel good one, man. Thank you guys again to our sponsors, Cabo Enterprises, IT&E, Ambrose, Bank of Guam, and Coast 360. My name is Chris. Hasta. Adios!